Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see what if Fishman Deku had a harem, part 1. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Son of Neptune by Stillwell03. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Izuku Midoriya, age 20. At the early age of 4, Izuku was sold on a slave auction, discovering he was quirkless. He was then bought by a celestial dragon and branded with a slave crest. For 2 years, he suffered hell that even today he has not fully recovered from. He was however saved by being thrown overboard after a storm destroyed the celestial dragon's boat, with him leaving his slaves to die and taking the only boat to safety when the ship was too damaged. As such, he found himself on Fishman Island and cared for by the inhabitants and adopted by the Ryugu royal family. On his back, Izuku will have his slave crest hidden by the mark of the Sun Pirates. It may be gone from physical view, but Izuku can still feel the presence of it to feel disgusted with the fact he was branded by a human and sharing the same species as the one that did. Likes: Fishman Island, his adopted family, fishmen and merfolk, the sea, Shirley. Dislikes: humans, himself included, slave owners, celestial dragons, Vanderdecken, those who discriminate against fishmen. Shirley, age 29. Shirley met Izuku when he was first on Fishman Island after she asked her brother Arlong to go to the infirmary on the main part of the island due to a vision she had. There, they met Izuku and were met by the horrid darkness that he crawled through. She was a very close friend and someone deeply devoted to helping Izuku in what way she could. As such, Izuku helps her at the Mermaid Cafe when he can. Likes: Izuku, her employees, her brother, in a he's family way, Fishman Island. Dislikes: rude people, people who discriminate, her brother's hatred. Arlong won't do what he did to Kokoyashi village, but still will be a prick. Age 39. From the moment he met Izuku, he didn't like him because he was a human. He made that point very clear with the boy and held onto it. Because of his hatred for humans as a whole, he refuses to see eye to eye with Izuku even though they want the same thing for their people. Freedom of the fishmen to go above ground. When he was freed from impelled down, he went back to Fishman Island and refused to work with the Sun Pirates again. Likes: his fishmen brothers, fighting, money. Dislikes: humans, Izuku, Shirley dating a human, Marines. Jinbei, age 44. Jinbei learned of Izuku and felt empathy for him, knowing he was just another victim. After the death of Fisher Tiger, the fishman went back to Fishman Island and helped where he could for the people. When Queen Odahime died, Izuku asked him to teach him how to fight with fishman karate and hockey. He for the most part feels pride knowing Izuku wants to keep the ideals of his late mother alive and holds out hope Izuku can bridge the gap between humans and fishmen. Likes: fishmen, Fishman Island, the Ryugu family, Izuku. Dislikes: evil humans, those who hurt others, Blackbeard. Praline Charlotte, age 29. Praline was offered in a peace treaty for Fishman Island to marry one of their top officials as a means of goodwill. She was offered to Izuku by his adopted father's offer. She is devoted to Izuku and fears he may leave her one day to be willing to stand by him even if it's against her mother. She also isn't afraid to show affection even in public. Likes: Izuku, her family, sweets, fashion, singing. Dislikes: feeling abandoned, those who hurt her beloved fiancé, Arlong. Yamato, age 28. Just like Praline, Yamato was offered to Izuku as an arranged marriage as an act of goodwill. Immediately after finding out she was a prisoner, Izuku felt like he could relate to Yamato. Her wild nature and brute strength makes Izuku uneasy with her because he can't get a good read on the woman. She does though feel happy when Izuku took her away from Wano, since it was all she wanted for so long, seeing the outside world. Likes: fighting, Odin, sweet fruit, samurai, Izuku. Dislikes: Kaido, prisons, weaklings, people that don't respect or butcher her name. Skills and abilities: fishman karate. Due to Jinbei's training, Izuku is skilled in the art to use it almost as well as his mentor. Hockey. Thanks to his training, Izuku has mastery over armament and observation hockey, with a specialty more towards observation hockey. Swordsmanship. In his training, Izuku has skills in using a single sword in combat. He has also found a way to merge his hockey and fishman karate in his swordsmanship. Fishman swordsmanship. In his personal training, Izuku found a way to use Fishman karate in conjunction with his swordsmanship. He pushed himself to create a method to use it in combat. Shirley Praline Charlotte Yamato Ochako Uraraka will be annoying to Izuku at first but see a lot of his adopted sister Shirahoshi in her. Mina Ishido will moderately not hate her as much as a normal human cause of her quirk-based altered pigment alteration. Tsuyu Asui will confuse her for a Fishman crosspieces at first. Momo Yayorozu, since Izuku doesn't like humans all that much, she won't stand out to him in a positive fashion and he'll kinda hate her a little more since she's looked at as an upper-class member of society. But she does make a difference in him when a certain world noble will come around and helps him through some personal troubles. Ulti, a member of Kaio's second best group if you're not up to date with the anime series. Ulti was offered in a marriage as well as Yamato to Izuku because of how much of a wild card his daughter is. Due to this, Ulti somewhat thinks that she's living the married woman's dream and also calls Izuku Izutan to sound cuter. She'll regularly be locking horns with Yamato in this mainly since she's the one holding her leash, so to speak. Pony Tsunatori being a mutation quirk user, Pony obviously doesn't have much hatred from Izuku as most censors makes her look closer to an animal. She tries to speak to Izuku, but can't speak Japanese so well. As such, Izuku speaks English to her to shock her before slowly making a friendship through their conversations. Reiju Vinsmoke among Izuku's offers for marriage, the Vinsmoke family was one to offer in exchange for making a base on Fishman Island. Izuku would be engaged and marry Reiju while also having extra support for the guards. She doesn't cause trouble, but tries to mess with Izuku when she can to see if she can get a reaction from him. Wanda and Carrot in his marriage offers, Izuku was given one by the Ghost Island of Zou in which they offered along with two respected rulers' aides in hopes to establish a trade route. Being humanoid animals, Izuku doesn't have a problem with both of them and shows no form of distrust upon first meeting them. However, he does have a slight issue with the minx form of greeting as well as Wanda occasionally licking him and Carrot giving small nibbles as a form of affection. Third-person POV. Deep beneath the waters of the world, 10,000 meters deep to be precise, there exists a kingdom. This kingdom is known as the Ryugu Kingdom of Fishman Island. To those that knew of this place, it is a land home to almost entirely merfolk and fishmen. Beings that resembled fish with human characteristics. The majority of people would normally pass through the Ryugu Kingdom if they were to travel past what is known as the Red Line. A wall over the sea that separates the world with pirates using this island as a safe transport across. However, those that travel to the Fishman district of the island would be met with the scum of the island. Those that harm others are part of pirate groups or are family to one of the two. This is where our tale begins with a young girl named Shirley and her older brother Arlong. "Brother, come look at this." Shirley asked for her brother to come near and show him a crystal ball. In it, it resembled that of a man with green hair and green eyes. "Why do you see a human?" "I don't know, but from what I can gather, there will be a battle in the future that will threaten to destroy our kingdom with this man being in the center of it. Probably because he is the cause of it. Humans all do nothing but destroy what they don't like. You saw what one of them tried to do earlier today to our Fishman brothers. He tried to kidnap and sell him up above in Sabodi Park. They can never be trusted." Arlong began drinking a bit of alcohol while feeling the shifting of the pressure of the sea currents outside their home. A strong storm is happening. I wonder if it will destroy any human ships? Looking deeper into her crystal ball, Shirley had noticed several other shapes of people with her brother included in them. I don't think he's the reason why. From what I can tell, the battle will be in hopes to save the Ryugu Kingdom and its people from a darkness that threatens us. It also looks like you're fighting with the human. Oh, give me a break. You honestly think I'd ever side with some ridiculous inferior being such as a human? Your prediction must be wrong. I'd rather die than make friends with a filthy human. Arlong chugged his drink before getting more irritated, remembering that his sister's predictions have never been wrong once since she's done them a few years ago. Looking closer, he noticed the human kissing a mermaid that looked like Shirley in the reflection to gain even more anger. There is no way this prediction is correct this time. So why don't you put that away and get some rest? We'll need to salvage tomorrow if there's any wreckage. Okay. Shirley began blushing while lifting up her crystal ball and heading towards her room. Meanwhile, Arlong went for another drink to take the image of an adult version of his sister kissing a human with passion behind it. That prediction is most likely complete garbage or reverse. Humans would never help our kind. The next morning as the two began walking out of their home and walking around the Fishman district, both were soon greeted by the fishmen before some of Arlong's members of his pirate crew came over. Arlong. There was a shipwreck that happened last night. Anything worthwhile from it? As far as we know, it's a celestial dragon's ship. But the royal guards won't allow us anywhere near the wreckage. The saw shark fishman's curiosity got the better of him at this to wonder why the royal guards wouldn't allow anyone near the wreckage. There's also more. Apparently there was only one survivor. Let me guess, the celestial dragon? Arlong scowled at this. No, it's a little boy. I didn't get a good look, but it's a human boy that had green hair and green eyes. Green eyes and hair? Shirley asked. Arlong, please bring me to this boy. I want to see him for myself. You think I'm going to bring you to some stupid human? I don't care what some vision you had said. The boy is just a lowly human. Ow. Shirley hit the back of Arlong's knee to make the fishman hold it in pain. Bring me to see him or I'll go alone. Okay. Okay. Just don't do something reckless. Arlong agreed to bring his younger sister to the hospital where the young boy was being taken care of. As they entered, the two were met with a crowd of people surrounding the hospital. What's going on? Shirley asked a fishman in front of them for him to answer. There's a human here that seems to be kinda weird. Weird how? The man was uneasy answering with Arlong not even wanting to be there. Stay close, Shirley. The fishman began clearing his throat while starting to push some people away. All right. Get the hell out of here. Out of the way. Arlong made a hole with Shirley holding onto the bottom of her brother's pant leg to avoid being separated. Once they got in, the two made their way towards the room with everyone inside it. All right. Move. Coming into the room, both were greeted by the sight of a small boy in rags holding a smile. However, the smile he gave wasn't one of happiness or joy. It was forced as if he was avoiding showing any other emotion for some reason. Just what's wrong with this kid? Is he okay? He's been smiling like that since he woke up. The people watching noticed the boy stand up and look around while still holding his broken smile. Arlong. What's wrong with him? He's broken at his core. That smile proves something. Arlong went over to the boy to smack him down on the ground. Everyone around looked in unease at this before Arlong pulled the kid's shirt up to reveal a marking that horrified all. No doubt about it, this kid was a slave to the celestial dragons. How awful. A woman that resembled a goldfish came into the room and immediately went towards the boy. Young man, are you all right? The boy got up and turned to the woman before smiling. Blood started to trickle down his nose. Arlong, did you really have to hit him that hard? The boy quickly moved to pull a piece of his clothing up and began cleaning the floor. Young man, are you all right? I'm fine. The boy continued to wipe the ground with the fabric. Why are you doing this? I'm trying to prove I'm not useless. If you see I'm a hard worker, then you don't have to kill me. Why would we kill you? The boy didn't look up while responding. I don't know, but you wouldn't want to kill me if I prove I can do something. The woman tried to stop the boy before a man that looked like a tiger shark came up towards them. Your Majesty. You won't get through this boy by just speaking to him. The queen looked at the fishman with unease before asking. Then what do you suggest we do to help him, Tiger? Looking at the boy, Tiger only knew of one way he could help. So long as the mark upon his back still exists, he will never be rid of the darkness that he had suffered. Tiger walked over to grab the boy with everyone making room for them to walk. As they got outside, the fishman went right towards the Fishman district while placing an air bubble around the child. They found themselves in front of a boat that seemed to be in rather good shape in a bubble as well. Once aboard, they went below deck with a horde of people following on deck. When Tiger shut the door, he sat the boy down in front of him and faced him. Tell me, boy, what's your name? Izuku. How did you become a slave and wind up here? My parents sold me. They said I was useless because I didn't have a quirk. They said that I'd be more useful to them being sold, so they did that. Tiger looked in horror that someone was so cruel as to sell their own child. I was bought by someone called a celestial dragon and wound up here because of a storm. Our master escaped before it hit, but most of us on board were slaves. So the man left you and several others to die? We were probably useless, so it's only understandable that we die. The fact Izuku had made this seem like a justified reason sickened the fishman to hold his fists in anger. Young man, do you not feel sad or wish to cry? If I cry or get sad, you'll kill me. It happened before with others. They cried and our owner killed them. This may be harder than I thought. His mind is too far gone. Tiger went towards the coal fire that was in the room to grab a handle to something metallic inside the coals. Child, raise your shirt and show me your slave crest. Izuku did as he was asked to reveal his slave crest with his back turned to Tiger. Forgive me, but this will hurt. I do not find any satisfaction in hurting you, but this is the only way to help you heal yourself from what you had to witness. The large man pulled out a searing hot piece of metal and aimed it directly towards the slave mark. Outside the ship, many gathered with the queen standing directly in front of the door. Silence surrounded the area with Shirley trying to find out what was happening in the cabin through small portholes the best she could. Unfortunately, she fell over and was unable to witness what was happening inside. However, all silence stopped when an ear-deafening sound of a scream was heard. Ah! The door to the room opened with Tiger coming out holding Izuku in his hands with his back burned with the symbol of a sun directly over his slave crest. Bandage him. I have erased the mark from his line of sight, but the road ahead for him will be long and agonizing if he is to ever become normal again. Izuku was placed on the ground unconscious with the queen coming directly over to help. Tiger. Why did you do something like this to a child? There must have been other ways. Tiger held his head down while shaking it. I'm sorry Queen Odahime, but this is the only way this boy shall ever be treated like a living being again. What do you mean? Tiger knelt down with some bandages in his hands while looking at the burn. The boy has been through true hell. Abandoned by the very people he was supposed to love and trust, sold to monsters dressed as humans, seen things that made him at his core break, and had been left to die not by his own accord. Understand me when I say, this boy's strife will go far beyond that of anyone's. At least here, we fishmen have one another to help us, but this boy, he has nobody. Arlong gritted his teeth at this comment before making a side remark. Give it time. He'll become just like the rest of humanity. Fishmen hating and willing to sell us off to make a quick buck. The Sawshark fishman grabbed Shirley's hand and began bringing her away from the area. Let's go Shirley. I don't want you to be corrupted by this human. She followed along, but began looking back, worried for the boy that she just met. As they did this, Odahime began to bandage Izuku while making sure he was all right to move. So the boy has nowhere in this world to call home? I'm afraid not. The quirks, as humans call them, are the reason why he was abandoned and sold. He was most likely bought because of this oddity and forced to see the evil of humans. To be honest, I'd be amazed if this child would even be able to trust humans again after what they've done to him. Hearing this, Odahime picked up Izuku and held him where he was resting on her shoulder. Then we'll just have to give him a place to call home. I shall take care of the child. Your Majesty, you do not have to do that. Tiger attempted to discourage this idea with Odahime shaking her head. Right now, this boy needs to know the trust of people. If his own family abandoned him, then he must have a new one. That is the only way things will grow better for him. In time, Izuku may even be able to help us understand and build a bridge between humans and fishmen. Odahime began heading off the ship and back towards the kingdom. As she did, Tiger entered back into the room to sit down and calmly think of what had happened. To think humans would be willing to do such horrid things on their own. It's shameful. Tiger glanced down at his shirt before pulling it down to reveal a similar sun, burned on himself that looked fresh. The road will be agonizing, Izuku, but know that the kingdom's queen is a gentle soul that only wants to do what is best for you. He gripped the burn with a tear in his eye. Thank you for taking him, Queen Odahime. I do not believe I would be able to hold my hatred for humans back if I had to raise him myself. Taking a deep breath, Tiger exited the room to look out towards the kingdom. Protect what you cherish, Izuku, for this is your second chance and starting anew. There won't be another after this one. Odahime Pav. After taking the young child from Fisher Tiger, I had brought him to the palace in hopes to give him a nice home to sleep in. Upon arrival, I had been met with my husband and his ministers. My queen, do you know what had the people all in a fuss this morning? I do. It was this child. Neptune and both ministers looked at the boy with curiosity. This child was the sole survivor of a shipwreck on a ship owned by a world noble. As I had discovered, he doesn't have a home. Then it may be best to send him to a human orphanage. A fishman that looked like an eel we knew as Minister of the Left stated, while another that looked like a seahorse called Minister of the Right agreed. I do not think that will work so well, Minister of the Left. This boy was sold by humans to become that which they will judge. Even if that wasn't the case, I do not believe he will have any form of peace with humanity as a whole. So what do you suggest, Your Majesty? The Right Minister asked. I shall take care of him. What, Your Majesty, that is ludicrous. My Queen, I do not think our people will willingly stand with your decision. He, as you stated, was a slave and is a human much less. I am doing this because this boy needs a mother, not for any other reason. If we were to give him to humans again, he would be judged and outcasted because of him not having a quirk as they predominantly do. You can tell me it isn't necessary, but leaving this child would be no different than what his own family has done. I refuse to accept no as an answer for this, with my husband thinking this over for a few moments. Very well, Sai, but we must do something if he grows up and attacks a citizen. He will not. I will make certain of that. I had created an air bubble for the boy before bringing him towards another room to rest. Upon doing so, I was able to see my children come up and welcome me home. Mother. You are home. Mother. How was your trip? Did you find out about that crowd? Mother. Why do you have someone in your arms? My youngest Shirahoshi asked for me to bring them towards a bed chamber that had no water in it. There, I placed the boy on the bed to speak to my children. I'm sorry I couldn't say anything right away, but this boy is the survivor of a shipwreck that happened on the surface. Some difficulties are with him and he's been through a lot. Please treat him nicely since we shall be taking care of him from today onwards. Fukaboshi came closer, curious about the boy to see what he looked like. He doesn't have fins or gills. Why? Because he's a human, my son. They're born without them. Then how does he survive? Humans don't have to worry about going into water, Ryuboshi. Shirahoshi stared in confusion for a moment as if she wasn't sure what to say about him. He's small. Are all humans small like him? Honestly, he's not much older than you, my dear. He's 6. So, I have another older brother. Immediately, the boy woke up and looked around. Did I pass out? I didn't cry though, so you don't have to kill me. He seemed to think we were going to kill him again with that smile he had still being present. It's all right, young one, we won't hurt you. I could tell there was much fear in the boy, but I wasn't fully sure on what he had witnessed and was afraid to know with my other children there. Why don't we start off with introductions? My name is Odahime. I am the queen of the Ryugu kingdom and will be taking care of you from now on. What's yours? Izuku. He never let go of the smile, saying this to start to worry everyone. My name's Fukaboshi. I'm Ryuboshi. I'm Momboshi. And I'm Shirahoshi. My children introduced themselves for Izuku to stare at us with his smile. I can tell you're hurting. Your back must be in pain. You don't have to hide it. But if I do, you'll... I stopped Izuku from saying what he was going to by hugging him. From what I felt, his emotions told me that he was extremely fearful when I said I was going to be his mother. It's okay. I promise I won't do anything like that. You must have held in so much pain till now. It's okay to let it out. I promise that this is a safe place where nobody will ever hurt you. Izuku's body felt like it was calming down a bit for me to continue. You've had so much strife till now. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. If I was there, perhaps I may have been able to save you from the darkness you faced. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry. His body started to shake with Fukaboshi coming over to hug his younger brother. Not long after, Ryuboshi, Momboshi and Shirahoshi joined in. The smile from what I felt of his cheek began to lower with his breathing slowly turning to pants as if he was holding back the urge to cry. Little by little, the sounds he made became more difficult to hide before finally he let go of all the pain he was keeping inside. Ah! Izuku sobbed. He sobbed as a way to cope with what happened to him and held onto me like it was life or death if he didn't. Can I really hick live with you? Yes. I promise we'll work together and make this place feel like home. When we're through, you'll be happy that the Ryugu kingdom is where you live. Izuku burrowed his face into my shoulder before continuing to let everything out. There. Just let it all out. You don't have to hold a strong face anymore. We stayed like this for a few minutes for Izuku to finally accept that he won't be hurt. Such a strong-willed boy. I'm sorry you've been hurt so much, Izuku. 1 week later, after Izuku's emotional release, he started to show genuine emotion. He'd still smile like he did before, but that's slowly getting better and better. Right now, I was preparing to head out to address the people and get signatures. Are you going somewhere? Looking over, I noticed Izuku looking somewhat curious. Why yes. For a while now, I have been trying to get signatures from the people to try and get us to live above the ocean floor. Why do you need those? Can't you just go up and live there on your own? I smiled at his ignorance before explaining why that was not possible. A long time ago, it was a law made by people that fishmen and merfolk like me and your family were not able to live on the surface anymore. It was quite a while back and I'm hoping to find a way to change it. But in order to do that, I need to show proof that our people want it. So I'm collecting signatures from the people in order to do that. If enough people sign saying they do, then that means we can discuss it at the next World Council. And what's a World Council? It's a 7-day meeting that only is held once every 4 years and consists of 50 different leaders of 170 nations connected to the world government. Here, if a decision to overturn certain laws about the government's ruling on an island is to be looked at or certain orders in general, then there must be several signatures and people standing with the ruling after a request was given by the nation that asks for it. This all also takes place in the Kingdom of Mary. I stopped myself when I noticed Izuku's face contorted into his hollow smile again. It's all right. There's an unspoken rule that if any conflict was to happen here, then that means there could be war. So nobody tries to pick fights here to avoid something nobody likes. Izuku thought for a second before asking if he understood. So you want the signatures of the people in the kingdom so you can legally live on the surface at a meeting that only is held once every 4 years where you can ask if this can be changed? That's correct. Can I come? I somewhat laughed at his enthusiasm before trying to deter Izuku. You shouldn't worry yourself with this. It's not your job to do. But if I'm part of your family, then that means I want to help make things right for everyone. I can't do much, but maybe I can at least help get 1 or 2 signatures. It probably isn't a lot, but that's 1 or 2 you don't have to ask for yourself. I was taken back a bit at Izuku's sincerity before Neptune came over. I think you should bring him along. He's been cooped up in the palace for so long that I think a little bit of adventure could do the boy some good. Who knows, having a human alongside you may help show the people that you are committed to this more than you are. I thought about it and saw Izuku starting to plead before accepting it. I suppose it could be good, but make sure you don't get into trouble. I patted his head before smiling. I worry you might get hurt. Promise. We started to head out with Izuku sitting in an air bubble so he can move around without worry in the submerged areas. So how many signatures do you have so far? Since I started a few years ago, I have a total of 1,000. Wow. How many do we need? At least half of the kingdom's population of 5 million. Izuku was baffled at this before we exited the royal palace and made our descent down. We decided to start at the edge of the kingdom before the Fishman district so that we could work our way back. I explained to Izuku that we needed to have the people willingly sign as well as make sure they understand that they could in their free will take the signatures back if they see fit. Our goal was to make sure at least half want this and are willing to fight for this in their own way. We started quickly with hardly anyone wanting to even hear us out and most avoiding us. Things seemed somewhat hopeless in a way until I noticed Izuku talking to a young mermaid. So if we sign them, we could go up to the surface. At least, that's what Mama said. Interesting. Izuku. Who's this? He turned to me and began smiling. This is Shirley. She said she'd want to sign the signature. Really? I immediately came with a paper for her to sign with the young mermaid to sign. When she did, both of us bowed our heads as a thank you. You have no idea how much this means. Thank you, Miss Shirley. It wasn't anything. Shirley, what are you doing talking with the human and this foolish queen? Knowing the voice, I immediately knew the person who spoke as Arlong, one of the more aggressive members of the Fishman district. Don't tell me you signed that paper. He immediately glared at Izuku, who could feel the malice from the Fishman. And you, what do you think you're doing talking to my sister? He struck Izuku with the back of his hand for him to get knocked down with it clearly being heard. Izuku? I tried to help him with Arlong making his point clear through both his words and action. No matter what happens, all you are is a human and nothing more. You are no fishman or anything else. Your kind is why we are down here in the first place, so don't act like you're innocent and corrupt our minds with your logic. That's enough, Arlong. Fisher Tiger began walking over enraged to get between Arlong and myself. The boy has suffered enough. Let him be. You think it's right to have someone such as him interact with. Tiger immediately silenced Arlong with a punch to his face. The boy had no right in saying what happened in the past or what is happening currently with our people. Even if his blood is related to that of the people that chain ours, this boy was enslaved by them as well. There is no difference in that regard, so why is there a difference now? His words felt empowering and scary at the same time for Arlong to be taken back a moment. Shirley, we're leaving. He immediately grabbed Shirley for her to glance back at Izuku, somewhat apologetic for what had happened. Queen Odahime, I think it is best if you end your attempt for signatures for today. After that display, I do not believe people will be willing to sign. But if I do, then that is accepting defeat. Tiger pointed at Izuku for a moment before stating his point. Perhaps, but I do not believe Izuku will be able to handle more if you were to continue. I glanced down to see Izuku back in his former state again. I feel sick with myself now. Not only did I force Izuku to relive fear again, but I was willing to put my own agenda over his safety. Wishing to proceed is one thing, but destroying the structure of others for you to continue is another thing altogether. Tiger began leaving with myself and Izuku going back to the palace. I'm sorry, Izuku. I should have done more to be aware of you. Later that evening, the rest of the day felt horrible for me. The hard work that Izuku had within the week was destroyed almost immediately. Our family tried to help the best they could to help pull him out of his panicked state and succeeded, but I still felt responsible for causing it. If I had been more attentive, perhaps what happened to Izuku would have never happened. That night before bed, I checked on Izuku, who was still awake. Izuku. What are you still doing up? He seemed uneasy before asking me a question. Mama. Do fishmen and merfolk hate me because I'm human? I couldn't answer that question so easily for Izuku, so I tried my best to explain it. Some people can't let go of their anger towards others. For the longest time, fishmen and merfolk were hurt by humans and still are. For us, we see the worst in humans too many times. Because of this, those that give into that anger have been tainted with it to be unable to see the kindness people can have. But fishmen and merfolk are just like people. You can find good ones, and you can find ones that aren't so good. But that shouldn't define a group as ones you should hate or not. In the end, we still live and breathe in this world as people, so there's no use worrying about it. Thank you, Mama. Izuku started to smile a bit for me to kiss his forehead. You're welcome. Now go to sleep. He nodded before placing his head on his pillow and slowly drifting off to sleep. When he was, I walked out of the room and checked on everyone else to make sure they were happily sleeping as well, to smile knowing our family is safe and happy. Izuku Pav. It's been about a year since I've come to live with my new family. I'll admit, it's a little scary thinking I'm so far under the ocean that it's freezing cold outside of our bubble, but I'm happy. I have a happy mom, a cool dad that was a cool warrior in the army, 3 brothers and a little sister. Since I still had a lot to learn, I'd normally sit and listen to mother teach the kids about the surface and learn what I can about fishman and merfolk history from the minister of the left. It gets kinda boring hearing him talk for a lot of time, but he's trying for me and I like him for that. Today, I'm going down to meet the people with my mother to try and get some signatures. Now more than ever, we want to show the people we care because of Fisher Tiger's death. It hurt us all and my family more with me overhearing why Mr. Tiger had the Sun Pirate crest what it was. I try not to think about it as much since it makes me sad as mother says, but I can understand why Mr. Tiger did what he did to my crest now. Please my people, I implore you to assist us in our call. If you could only sign, we could show the world that fishmen and merfolk are willing to help establish peace between humans. Mother constantly spoke to the people every day to try and get the signatures we have with us now at 2,000. I was so happy for her to get double the amount a year ago, but we were not there yet. Excuse me, Your Highness? A couple of fishmen that signed the other day came over. I'm sorry, but could we take our signatures back, after what happened to Fisher Tiger? It just doesn't seem right. Though I knew what happened thanks to the new head of the Sun Pirates, Jinbei. The world saw the story as the Marines killed Mr. Tiger. Very well. Go ahead and take it if you don't feel right. I cannot stop you from thinking about what you do. I could tell mother didn't like it, but she understood that it was only fair we don't hold the people to their word with signatures. A few more people came not long after asking the same thing, with it taking almost everything from the year with more still coming. By the time it was over, only Shiarli's signature was left. I'll take that. Arlong came over still looking beaten up from his fight with the Marines from what I was told by Jinbei and tore up Shiarli's signature. The fact you are still here is ridiculous. You humans are responsible for Brother Tig's death. He left off to the Fishman district with Mother and me looking down into the container we had for the signatures. Oh. We're back at square one. I felt a little bummed with my mother not refusing to give in. She kept going and asked for more signatures. I did the best I could too, but nobody wanted to sign. Eventually, my mother began holding my hand and bringing me back home. Come along, Izuku. We'll need to call it a day here. I thought about it and figured maybe I should try a little harder for Mother's sake. Mother, could I stay a little longer? Maybe if people see we're still trying, we could get a handful of signatures today. I do not think that is possible, Izuku. Just a little longer, please. She seemed really sad with it, almost making me give up until someone came over to watch me. If it makes it any help, I'll make sure nobody harms him, Your Highness. Jinbei. Mother looked at me for a moment before looking back at Jinbei. Okay, but only for 2 more hours. I don't want you to overwork yourself, Izuku. I put my pinky out for Mother to put hers out as well. Promise. Mother had left with Jinbei staying beside me and sitting down. Would you like to sign, Boss Jinbei? I have no obligation. Not only that, but it's going to be impossible for you to get any signatures today after what has happened in the recent events. He pulled out a smoking pipe before pulling some of the smoke and breathing it out not long after. Everyone on this island respected Fisher Tiger. Nobody here didn't feel a little heartbroken from news of his death. To us, the idea right now of standing side by side with those who murdered him would be nothing but pain. You understand this more than anyone. The type of agony one can suffer to refuse to forgive those. I felt my back begin to tingle and the sight of that man who branded me being seen in my mind again to feel pain from back then again. I do. But sometimes you need to let the anger and sadness out and try to take steps forward. At least, that's what Mother says. To her and Father, Mr. Tiger's death was horrible. But it's because of this that Mother wants to keep going. She doesn't want to give up for her people. And I won't give up on helping her. Hearing this, I think made Jinbei start to smile while patting my head. You know, I met a similar kid like you while sailing with Tiger. She suffered the same thing you did for us to make a rule among our crew. He sucked in what was in the pipe before blowing it out again to answer. We will never kill humans. Even though Tiger couldn't love humans, he knew that the hatred we as the Sun Pirates would have for them would corrupt the next generation and divide us more than we already are. But so long as there are people like you and Queen Odahime, there is a chance that we as the people of Fishman Island can one day reach the surface and live among humans. Jinbei got up and grabbed some of the things Mother and I bring down. Now, let's find somewhere different to address the people. Perhaps a change of scenery will help. Yeah. 2 hours later, after a few hours of work and nothing to show for it, I began heading back to the castle with Jinbei with my head down. Well, we at least tried to find more. At least that counts for something, right Jinbei? He held his head down somewhat sad as we started heading back. I just hope Mother isn't so sad about all this. Izuku? I glanced up to see Shiarli with some things to smile. Shiarli, what are you doing in the city? Don't you live with your brother? I was able to buy a home thanks to a part-time job I have in the kingdom. Thanks to this, I can live in the city like a normal member of the kingdom. What about you? Where's Her Majesty? Normally you both take the trip to the kingdom to talk with the people together. I held my head down while answering. She went home to get some rest. She wasn't feeling good and the people all pulling their signatures pushed her a little too much. She should be okay tomorrow. Shiarli held her arm looking sad before speaking. Look, about Arlong taking my signature. I'm sorry but I just couldn't. After what happened with Fisher Tiger, The loudspeaker came on for all of us to hear it buzzing. You are all liars. From what it sounded like, Mother was on the speaker and kinda weird. Leave me alone. I'm not drunk at all. But Your Majesty, butt out, Mr. of the Left Hick. Didn't expect this to trouble Her Majesty that much. Jinbei spoke with both me and Shiarli hearing my mother speak. Everybody listen to me. You can live however you want, and if that means living on this island, then I can't stop you and neither can anyone else. But in the ocean so vast, and on the seafloor so dark, we chose this tiny place and this place alone. Do you have any idea why? She seemed really sad from what it sounded like. Isn't this the only place where we can get a bit of sunlight? A bit of air? Luxuries down here are plentiful above ground. Light illuminates above the surface above everything and the sky stretches out as far as you can see. She started crying a bit from what it sounded before continuing. Our children. Why did they always sneak out to sneak a glimpse of Sabodi Park? Huh, can't you see? The world is full of more beauty than any of us can even imagine. There shouldn't be any limit to the places we should be able to go. Why restrict ourselves to this bubble? I know you tell yourselves that life down here is comfortable. That you're safe. Do you want to live the rest of your lives trapped? Dig deep. Summon your courage. Once you have it, pursue your dreams. No matter the cost. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Even hurt, she spoke words to help our people, Mother. If humans stand in your way, we'll confront them together, and maybe then, we can make a difference for our children. For our future. For the island. Even if it's just a small one. Mother began to cry for all of us to feel some kind of pain from all the trouble we caused. You know, the main reason I had to take the Navy's offer to become a warlord was to try and help my men. But maybe that can be used to help make people see how close we can be to humans. Jinbei was somewhat interested in this for me to smile. Yeah. Maybe you can use your warlord name to make people see that the differences between us and humans aren't big. I smiled at this before seeing some people walk over to me. Izuku. Some of them were people that signed with them and everyone had tears in their eyes. We want to sign the signatures again. I'm sorry that we took them away, but we were just scared. But after hearing the Queen, I want a place for my daughter to grow up that isn't trapped down under the ocean. Yeah. I want to see the sky and not be afraid anymore of humans. Yeah. Everyone wanted to sign and make a future for Mother to see. It made me happy. So happy that I started to cry a bit. Yeah. Signatures are right here for everyone. When you sign them, please put them in the container. I couldn't believe it. Mother was able to bond with so many people. Even if it was a little, I couldn't help but smile. 1 hour later. Man, you were able to get a lot. How much does this make now? Thanks to Jinbei and Shiarli's help, I was able to get the signatures into the castle and place them where Mother normally does. In a side room near the Grand Hall, safe from anyone wanting to harm them, but somewhere that gives trust to our people. From what I counted, we're past 2,000. That means we have more people wanting to help make this island a better place for us. Getting to the entrance, I turned to Shiarli and Jinbei. Thank you both for helping. I really appreciate this. It's nothing. Oh yeah, before I forget. Shiarli grabbed one of the unused papers before signing it and placing it in. Consider this my way of apologizing to the Queen for doubting her. I know that it doesn't make up for it, but having her know I truly do feel sorry for what I asked Arlong to do for me is the least I can do. Also, I think seeing Sabodi Park with you one day together would be something I'd love to do. So if we're able to go to Sabodi Park without worry, would you want to go with me? Shiarli came over to kiss my cheek and smile. I'd love to. Consider that a date. I went red hearing this before turning to start bringing some of the signatures in and leading the way for everyone. Oh my, Izuku. It seems your events were quite grand today. It was, Father. After what Mother said why she wanted to do this and was thinking for everyone and our future, people finally opened their hearts and agreed. Thanks to this, Mother doesn't have to worry so much. I see. She'll be happy to know you've helped her in her moment of weakness. I smiled happily before feeling my father's hand rest on my head. He rested his other hand on Shiarli and gave us a smile. The friendship the two of you have, it's one that your mother sought to achieve for the people of this kingdom. Never let go of that happiness. It's the guiding light for our people and proves that fishmen and humans can live side by side. I nodded with Shiarli agreeing as well. Your Highness. Is Queen Odahime okay? Jinbei asked for father to nod. She is all right. She seemed to overdo herself after and is right now unable to meet with you all. That's a relief. I hope she doesn't overdo it again. I don't think the people could handle hearing their queen in such a state. I'll give her your regards for her well-being, my friend. The two nodded with me and Shiarli placing the signatures where they had to and coming back to the main hall. Well, it was nice seeing you all. I shall see you in the future, Your Highness. Shiarli, I'll take you home. Shiarli nodded before coming over to me and giving me a hug through the bubble I was in. Make sure to keep your promise in the future, Izuku. It's not nice to promise a girl something and go back on your word. She left with my face blushing from remembering the fact I kinda agreed to a date with Shirley. Izuku. What did she mean by that? It's nothing. Just a promise I made to her that I want to keep. I tried to avoid this conversation and go to my bedroom and sleep off what had happened today. As I laid in bed, I remembered the kiss Shirley gave me to touch my cheek. I started blushing before covering my face. That was so embarrassing. As Izuku was brought into the Ryugu family, he began to learn more from the world and those around him. In the short time he has lived there, he's seen both the kindness the fishmen and merfolk have offered alongside the darkness and the deep-rooted hatred the people carry. However, he holds out hope thanks to his mother and an unlikely friendship between both Shirley and Jinbei that the world they see will change for the better for everyone. Odahime Pav. A month has passed since my little speech, as my husband has called it, with Izuku being a huge help for me. Thanks to his efforts in the kingdom at the time, we were able to get more signatures with ones that already had taken theirs away, giving them back. Today, I asked Izuku to go and spend time within the kingdom without gaining signatures. I also asked Jinbei if he could watch from a distance with him, saying they're going to be spending some time with Shirley. Such a nice girl she is. On your way out, mother. I glanced over to see Fukabashi, Ryuboshi, Mamboshi and Shirahoshi near the entrance to the main hall. Why yes, I was going to head to the kingdom and address the people today. Didn't Izuku go out earlier though? I thought he would join you, so latte do. I smiled while responding to this answer. He wanted to, but I told him he needed the day off. He's still a child, and even though he works hard like the rest of you to become what they must, everyone needs a day to rest from time to time. Is he meeting that nice girl, Shirley? Izuku told us about her and she sounds like a nice girl. Shirahoshi asked for me to nod. They're probably together right now talking amongst themselves. From what Jinbei tells me, he speaks so highly of his strong older brothers and caring little sister. They smiled, knowing how happy Izuku is with my husband, discussing with me some final words before I leave. I think you should also heed your own advice, my queen. We wouldn't want the kingdom to worry about your health. I promise I won't let something like that happen again. I began laughing a bit before one of the royal guards came in. Your Majesties. A ship was found severely damaged moments ago trying to request entry into the Ryugu kingdom. What are you waiting for then? Let them in. Neptune had asked with the guard worried. It's not that simple, sir. The ship it's a celestial dragon's. I was shocked before trying to run as quickly as possible towards its location. Where is it docking? Outside of Mermaid Cove, your highness. My queen. Neptune tried to stop me, but I wanted to get there as quickly as possible to greet the celestial dragon. This could work out in our favor. If I can obtain the aid of a world noble, perhaps there is hope yet. I stopped my train of thought, however, when I heard where the ship was docking. Oh no, Izuku is near the ship. Outside of Mermaid Cove, Shirley Pav. After discovering a crowd of people, Izuku and I began heading towards the center to see a massive ship that was badly damaged. Whoa. I haven't seen one that big enter the kingdom in a long time. I glanced down to Izuku to see him begin shivering. Izuku. What's wrong? He pointed towards the center mass for me to see the sail. When I did, my eyes went wide, realizing just who crashed here. A celestial DD dragon. The sound of gunfire was heard for both of us to look towards the source. There, we noticed a disgusting-looking man injured, waving a gun around for some reason. I say, what are you all waiting for? Bring me a bubble and a doctor, I demanded. He shot a round off again, with the people scared to even go near him. I looked towards the guards to see them debating on whether they should intervene or not, as well with some even wanting to put him out of his misery. How long do you expect me to wait? Give me medical treatment and a bubble at once. I cannot stand breathing the same air as you mongrels much longer. Not long after this, some members of the Sun Pirates came over with guns pointed towards the celestial dragon. I couldn't hear what they said, but from what it seemed, they were slaves to this noble in particular and willing to do the unthinkable. They wanted to end the celestial dragon's life. Izuku. Is this right? I looked down to ask with Izuku panting. The celestial dragons are monsters. They enslaved our people. Enslaved you. I want to remain quiet if they do kill him, but is this right to do? He seemed to have difficulties with this, to run in and stand in front of the fishmen and celestial dragon. Wait. He held his arms out with the lead fishman, irritated with this. What are you doing? Get out of the way. I can't. His comment enraged them to no end, with it obvious on their faces. I was about to go in before Jinbei held my shoulder. You can't get involved. If you do, it'll only cause more chaos than there should be. Why, out of everyone here, you know firsthand how horrible these monsters are. Why are you defending them? I'm not defending this man because I like him or his kind. I could see tears coming down Izuku's face as he answered. It's true, I want him to suffer. I want him to feel every whip, gunshot, burn and prod he gave our people. I want him to die just as much as you do, being part of the people that hurt us. But, he held his head up, showing how conflicted he really was. If I let you do this, what makes me different than the people that stood by and let my pain happen, and what makes you better than your tormentor? The celestial dragon began going for his gun, with the fishmen seeing and aiming at him. Izuku. Don't do it. Me and Jinbei went running in, with Izuku shouting as loud as he could, don't shoot. An overwhelming presence was felt with the sound of gunshots being heard. I started to black out with this, to see Izuku fall backwards and the queen coming to help him. What? Just, hap, Pened. Third person Pav. Seeing Shirley fall back, Jinbei immediately grabbed her to let her down on the ground gently. Just what was that? He looked up to see where Izuku was, to notice the fishmen dropping their guns with tears in their eyes. Looking to Izuku now, he noticed the boy falling back with blood coming out of him. Izuku. Out of nowhere, Odahime ran towards him, afraid of what happened. My son, stay with me. Why, your majesty? I know. You didn't mean to shoot him, but please save this for later and get help for both Izuku and this man, please. Let the children see and know this was an accident, so you do not corrupt their minds with hatred. The royal family soon came after with them, seeing Izuku being held with blood coming down his arm. Jinbei. What happened to Izuku? Fukaboshi asked in fear for his youngest brother. He got shot. Who did it? Momboshi asked with a bit of anger as Ryuboshi held his fists in anger. Please. Don't show your anger. There are innocent people around that shouldn't be shown to it. The group looked and saw several children barely conscious and adults holding them so they wouldn't fall over. Izuku Midoriya. You've proven our queen's ideals can be followed, but what you displayed now could help us grow even more. Jinbei was pulled out of this thought by hearing the people panic and see Odahime held at gunpoint by the celestial dragon. Alright, now unless you want this disgusting fish woman to die, you'll do as I say and get me a doctor and a bubble. The situation grew more dangerous, with the members of the royal family even more concerned. Shirahoshi, who was watching this happen throughout the ordeal, felt the most scared and wanted the violence she was witnessing to stop, to shout out against it. Stop it! The loud sound caused an earthquake for some reason, with several creatures beginning to come out of the water and hover over where Odahime and the celestial dragon were. What the? Where did these sea kings come from? The fishmen and merfolk of the island looked in fear before the giant monsters glanced over to the crying Shirahoshi. As abruptly as they came, they left almost as quickly, with their presence confusing everyone. Your Majesty. One of the fishmen that was part of the group ready to kill the world noble came to Odahime with medical equipment and supplies. Are you alright? I am. But please help Izuku and this man. They need medical attention more than I do. The fishman nodded before looking at Izuku to try and help him first. Meanwhile, the entire kingdom took what happened and held nothing but absolute surprise from it. To the side, however, two beings were more interested in what happened than most to take mental notes of what happened. So the boy can knock people out without even using violence. Interesting. My family's prophecy, it's true, she can control the Sea Kings. Few days later, a power that only I have? Yes. It's a unique power that only few in the world can possess. After the ordeals of what happened, Jinbei decided to tell Izuku about what happened with Shirley present, to explain what he did a few days back. To make it simple, you used something called Haki. It comes in many forms, such as the ability to coat your body in a protective force by your own stamina, sensing things that your eyes can't foresee through extreme focus, or even being able to defeat enemies by just your willpower alone. What you did was the last, and the power you gave was strong enough to knock some people out at your age. Wow. Izuku stared at his hands before feeling a tear-filled smile overcome him. I always wanted something like this where people won't look down on me. This feels unreal. Believe me when I say anyone can learn the first two forms of Haki I explained. However, not many does learn it since both armament and observation haki require you to hold extreme strength and concentration in order to do it. Because of quirks in humans, the number of people who know of haki and can use it are even smaller than it was before since humans won't train their bodies and instead train their quirks. This leads to the knowledge of haki itself being a dying art, so to speak. However, some pro heroes who are high-ranked have some knowledge on haki itself and can use it to battle villains with. But your haki. The Conqueror's haki. That's different. Jinbei sipped from his tea while explaining. Conqueror's haki is something that nobody can just naturally learn. You have to be able to use it yourself, and most that have it don't realize they do. The likelihood of someone having the power of Conqueror's haki is roughly 1 in a few million, with these people who master it having a unique name to them. Supreme Rulers. So you're saying Izuku is this, Great King or something? It's just a term those with this haki hold. However, I would advise against doing anything with it in a combat situation unless you have full control over it. Since you can't control it yet, you will also knock out allies if you were to use Conqueror's haki yourself. But if trained right, you might be able to help your mother more than you normally can. Thank you for your words of wisdom, Jinbei sir. Your knowledge has given me hope for the future. Izuku bowed with something still plaguing Jinbei's mind. So how is your family doing? Izuku looked away a bit while answering. We're managing. About a day ago, the celestial dragon was given a ship after being able to move around freely as to what the palace's physician said and began his leave back to Mary Schwaz. Odahime had asked if she could accompany him and possibly get the assistance of the celestial dragons. This shocked everyone in the kingdom, with it ending with the queen joining. Now, all the family and people of Fishman Island can do is wait and hope that their queen will return safe and sound. Rest easy. I have faith she'll come back. Your mother and you hold one thing in common. You and her refuse to let the darkness in this world define you. Izuku smiled at this before having shyly hug him. Why don't we spend some time doing something to help get your mind off of it? How about I assist you in addressing the people today? I'm sure your mother would be so proud if you were to gather some signatures while she's busy doing what she is for the people. Izuku nodded before heading towards the side. There, he met his sister and brothers, still worried for their mother. Don't worry. Mother's going to come back. She's the type of person that never gives up no matter what. His reassurance did something for the four, but they were still uneasy. Fukaboshi. You want to help address the people with me and Shirley? I'm sure they'd be happy to see the first son join us. I think I'll be fine just staying here. I'm sorry, brother. It's okay. I understand. Izuku grabbed the signatures and the box to bring towards Shirley and Jinbei. She'll come back. I know my mother will. 6 days later, after 7 long days of waiting for Queen Odahime's safe return, she finally arrived back with the kingdom, able to breathe a sigh of relief. However, Odahime's return wasn't the only thing she had with her. With the signature of the celestial dragon Don Quixote Myasgard, the Ryugu kingdom was able to participate in the World Summit and speak upon their proposal. However, the thing that made everyone on the island happy was the fact she returned to the kingdom safe and sound. Not long after her heartfelt reunion, Odahime had addressed her people in the Jincord Plaza. The celestial dragons have listened, and in my hands holds the paper which gives us an opening to our future. With it, we can take part in the World Summit. However, we have just opened the doors. The time is now, my people. Gather your courage and sign to prove you wish to make a change for the better for us. Odahime spoke with many people in the crowd silent. Feeling as if she wasn't making much effort, she was about ready to accept defeat. However, the fishmen and merfolk one by one began giving their signatures. All across the island, the people of the kingdom were giving their signatures and proving they want change. The amount was so grand that the Minister of the Right had a larger box to hold the signatures prepared. The act moved the queen. It made her happy to the point she wept tears of joy knowing her people wanted the change. To the side, Izuku stood happy with his mother before a familiar voice spoke to him. Izuku. Turning to see, Shirley came over with an armful of signatures. I hope these help. 1,000 signatures I was able to obtain from the Fishman district. With help from my brother. I only helped because you were spouting things that were going to get you killed. Don't think I had any desire to do any of this. Arlong grumbled before seeing Izuku smile at him. Stop looking at me like that, stupid human. Arlong. Thank you for help. I didn't help her for you. I helped keep the fishmen that wanted to kill her from doing so. There's a difference. The two laughed at this, with it seeming like nothing could stop what they wanted accomplished. However, this changed the second the sound of cinders came with a roaring fire on the bins holding all the signatures. Fire. Put it out. Get some water. Get the people away. Several guards began panicking to try and keep the citizens safe, with Izuku running as fast as he could to grab the signatures in the flames. To the side, Odahime was doing the same, trying to pull the signatures out of the flames before everything was gone. Your Majesty. Stop this. I can't. These signatures are more important to us than just flimsy pieces of paper. They represent our future. The guards understood for the head to make a decision. Save as many signatures as you can. They're better wet than burned away. Madness consumed everyone, with everyone watching the flames burn as the two who fought desperately for a long time to do something for their people protected the future. Izuku slowed down a moment and noticed his hands bloodied from the fire-opening burns he obtained. He shook in pain. He wanted to do more, but his body was unable to keep up. I can't stop. Everyone, they want a new life. I can't let this end here. To the side, a person took aim at Izuku, prepared to shoot him through the chest. The sound of a single gunshot came seconds after, to feel like an eternity. Those looking towards it saw a sight that horrified them all. Odahime pushed Izuku away from where he stood, to have a bullet pierce her heart. Both fell to the ground as the kingdom witnessed someone gun down the royal family. Queen Odahime. As Izuku continues to live and learn in the Ryugu kingdom, Izuku has learned of the people and their own troubles. In an attempt to help the people, Odahime had attempted to assist their people in more unique ways. Meanwhile, Izuku and Shirahoshi show a unique power both of them have for the citizens of the Ryugu kingdom to witness. Thanks to the hardships they faced, Queen Odahime came with hope for their pleas. However, as the people of Fishman Island were opening their hearts, tragedy struck them not once but twice as Queen Odahime was shot by a gunner. Third-person POV. Mother. The children of Odahime ran to her aid. The people around were horrified and in shock. Someone shot their queen in cold blood. Mother. Who shot you? I promise I'll find them and make them pay. Fukaboshi was enraged. He held nothing but blind anger inside him for the person responsible for harming his family and wanted them to suffer. Before he could lose his sense of morality completely, though, he felt Odahime's hand touch his cheek. Please. Do not hold anger for my death. That is not what I want. If we accept and give in to this hatred, it will never leave our people and corrupt those with no reason to hate humans. I know it's hard, my son, but you must be strong right now. As they spoke, a fishman with 4 legs came over to Shirahoshi and touched her arm. As he did, Shirley noticed this and shouted, Hey, who are you? I'm getting out of here. He ran away, with Shirahoshi focusing more on what was happening in front of her. She was on the verge of a mental breakdown seeing her mother the way she was. Remembering their mother's talk about Shirahoshi and how dangerous her power is, Momboshi and Ryuboshi knew that they had to keep her calm at a time like this. Shirahoshi. Momboshi started to dance around trying to smile. Hey, look at me, Mambo. Don't be sad, Jambo. Joining in, Ryuboshi began singing as well as a way to help. Don't be sad, Shirahoshi. The two kept singing and dancing while keeping a smile on them. But their tears proved a different look. They knew their mother was going to die, but needed to be there for their little sister instead of giving into their sadness. They wept while forcing a smile on their faces, knowing this was the best they could do at this moment. My sons. Shirahoshi, please come close for a moment. Odahime asked for everyone to come close enough for the mother not to speak too loudly. Fukaboshi. Ryuboshi. Momboshi. One day, I know in my heart you will become noble warriors that will protect this island and its people. I'm sorry I won't be around to see you do this physically, but know I will always watch over you. Shirahoshi. I'm sorry I must leave you so young, but know that if you ever need someone to rely on, your family is always those you can trust. Izuku. I know you've had a hard run up till now in life. But you came to this island for a reason. Whether that reason defines the people on this island or not is unknown. But know I had always cared for you like any mother should for her children and always will. Odahime held out her pinky while smiling at her children. They all did the same as their way of promising they'll always be together even when they're not. Once they all did this, Odahime began to lose the last of her strength with her hand falling to the ground, The people of the Ryugu kingdom couldn't fathom this. The queen who always was so kind to them. Dead on the ground in front of them. Your Majesty. Jinbei watched in grief as a paper came flying by him on fire. He immediately put it out with his bare hands before looking at the guards. Surround the area. The killer is still at large. Bang. The sound of a second gunshot was heard for the whale shark fishman to run as fast as he could towards the source. Once there, he saw some of the royal guards standing in front of a body. Did you find the shooter? The guard looked up and spoke. He had a gun and was fleeing. Safe to assume he's the culprit. Anyone we know? Jinbei asked, for none of the guards to be proud of answering. Not even close. The guards pulled away to show a human shot dead on the ground to shock the warlord. It's a human. What should we do now? Jinbei held several emotions in him at this point. Most close to pure rage, this was done by someone of the same species Odahime risked her life to reconcile with. But after everything that's happened, there was only one thing that would be best for Odahime's memory. Hide the body. If word gets out that a human killed Queen Odahime, everything she's worked for will be for nothing. This without a doubt didn't sit right with the soldier as he grabbed the human's neck and began walking towards the ledge overlooking the people. Hody. Stop. This is the man that killed our queen. The soldier Hody held the dead man up for all to see while shouting. A human killed our queen. This is what their kind is capable of. Looking up and seeing the human that did this, Izuku's grief for what happened turned quickly to inner rage. Tears were seen in his eyes as he began sobbing and grabbing his head on the ground. Humans now not only threw him away and branded him like property, but now wouldn't even accept him being happy and took his adopted mother who has done nothing to provoke it. One by one, the people of the square had old wounds open up and felt hatred for humanity as well. Some even made claims that Izuku may one day do the same if monsters like the man in Hody's hand are the normal human. Shirley. Arlong gained his sister's attention, who was watching Izuku's mental breakdown happen and was forced to stay back by the guards. This is why humans can never be trusted. They will take from us until there is nothing left. Not even our lives. Arlong gripped his fists in anger before walking back to the Fishman district with his hatred for humans being even more than it already was. Izuku. Shirley continued to watch as Izuku punched the ground in his blind anger to bloody his already burned and damaged hands more than they already were. He only stopped when two guards came to pull him away, with two others bringing the rest of the royal family back to the palace to keep anyone else who might get hurt from getting hurt. Izuku. I'm so sorry this happened. Shirley began going home with the fires of the incident smoldering out as the remaining signatures in the boxes were burned away and gone for good. 1 week later, upon hearing of his wife's death at the hands of a gunman, King Neptune locked himself in an armory and began punching and headbutting the doors and walls. He refused to come out until his blind anger would stop and made that perfectly clear to both his ministers. Nobody blamed him, as this would hit Neptune arguably the most out of those that haven't heard the news. As this happened, he was told of the details and felt guilt knowing someone like him who has killed humans in the past as a member of the guards that in his mind deserved to die. Lives, while Odahime was struck down for no reason. On the 7th day of locking himself inside, Neptune opened the doors to the armory and was met by the Minister of the Left and Minister of the Right. Your Majesty. I am all right. My rage is not gone, but it has subsided enough where I can bear it now. Neptune spoke while calmly seeing his ministers looking somewhat ashamed. Are the children all right? Both ministers looked away while he asked this. Did something happen? The Minister of the Right spoke up first, somewhat ashamed he had to explain what was going on. It's Izuku, sir. Did something happen to him? Is Izuku all right? Neptune worried for his adopted son, with the Minister of the Left explaining. Physically, that is. Hard to answer. But mentally he seems not well, Your Majesty. What do you mean by that? Where is he? I think it would be easier for you to see what has happened. Out of everyone, Queen Odahime's death hit him the most. The two ministers led Neptune to his son in hopes to find out what has made them worry for him. Upon arrival, Izuku was thrown into a wall, clearly bleeding heavily. He was in pain, but refused to stop as he stood back up. Come on. Is that the best you have? Blood began dripping off his chin and hands as Izuku spat it out and had it drip down his fists from the burns that never closed during the fire. Is this the way you protect the royal family? This is your chance to hit the member of the damned race that killed our queen. Stop holding back. Several of the guards who had personal grudges against humans were in front of Izuku. Though they wanted them to get hurt, seeing Izuku ask them to hit him while in this state felt more wrong than good. Hit me, damn it. One guard finally lost his composure to punch Izuku in the gut to cough out blood. This leveled the small boy, but he stood back up clearly shaking. This has been going on for about a week. If something isn't done about Izuku's antics soon, he'll die of blood loss or infection. Another guard punched Izuku somewhat gently for him to punch back and cut open his hand more. Hey! What do you think you're doing? The Minister of the Right shouted in anger as one of the guards retaliated on Izuku. He's not giving us a choice, sir. Neptune walked towards Izuku, who noticed him and spoke up. Your Majesty. Strike me. I will not. Enraged by this, Izuku shouted at his adopted father. Strike me? I'm the one thing you hate the most. I'm a human. The same species that has killed your wife. Strike me. I've heard about the several humans you've killed. What's one more to that amount? Izuku charged at Neptune in hopes for him to strike him down. End me now before I harm anyone that you love. Enough now. Neptune slammed Izuku to the ground with his hand wrapped around Izuku to hold himself to the ground. Your Majesty, listen to me and listen good, boy. You have been brought into this family with my queen's open arms. We have done nothing but give you love and devotion since the day you've come here. And now with everything that's happened you do this as a way to honor what Queen Odahime has done for you. The anger in Izuku's eyes stopped showing when he felt tears drip down on his face. He looked up to see his adopted father crying. I know it hurts, Izuku. I feel the same way you do right now. It hurts and I can't do anything to make it go away. But if your mother could see what you are doing right now, it would break her heart. I beg of you, in loving memory of her, please stop this. Izuku began to cry at this and let out the anger he felt while sobbing. Why, why did she have to save me? She had no reason to risk her life for mine. Why couldn't I do something for her before she died? Neptune let go of Izuku and embraced him in a hug for both to grieve over their loss. I know. It's never right when someone that doesn't deserve to die goes, but Odahime wanted to help you. She wanted you to grow up and be someone you always should have been. Someone you can be proud to be. Izuku kept sobbing into his father's arms as Neptune held his adopted son in hopes to quell the sadness between both. If only things were different, maybe this world wouldn't have to take such a kind soul like Odahime and curse someone like Izuku with such grief. Several days later, after being treated in the burial of Odahime, several new troubles faced the Ryugu royal family. The first was Princess Shirahoshi constantly gaining letters from a man named Vanderdecken asking for her hand in marriage. In fear this might get worse as time went on, Neptune ordered her daughter to be kept in a room until the man was found and detained. Adding to this, the royal family outside of Izuku hardly ever left the palace and normally would speak to the people via transponder snail. In addition, the three princes agreed to take over their mother's role in collecting signatures from the townsfolk. To free those that may feel remorse for signing, they also showed all 5 of the children lighting a match to set 5 portions of the salvaged signatures ablaze, starting them back at 0 and allowing the people to sign when they think they are ready. This touched more people as they saw the damage done to Izuku's hands from his heroic attempts to save their future to get rid of what he risked his life to salvage. Once things settled down, Jinbei was asked to meet Izuku at the capital. Izuku sat on the top of the palace in a bubble watching the kingdom somewhat at ease. You wished to see me? Izuku didn't avert contact with the kingdom as he spoke to his older friend. Jinbei, sir, I want you to teach me to fight. What, Izuku? I know Queen Odahime's death must have been hard on you, but this isn't the answer. This has nothing to do with Mom's death. I'm doing this so I can protect those that I need to. Izuku glanced at his hands that were still bandaged and most likely going to scar from his attempts to help the people. I know that violence isn't the answer we need. Fisher Tiger proved that all too well with what happened above ground with the Sun Pirates. But kind words with no structure or defense against them can only go so far. The kingdom needs both kindness and strength in order to protect it, and though it's not much, I want to do what I can to protect it. Jinbei was hesitant to explain what Izuku was asking. You're going down a thorny path. You are aware of that, right? I know. But I'd be going down a thorny path to begin with regardless. The people have their hatred of humans reignited and will without a doubt have problems seeing me as a good person. As such, I need to show them I won't do anything to harm them or the people. What did you have in mind to reassure them? 2 things. First, a solemn vow on my end. I will not harm fishmen or merfolk. There is a reason I don't want to say behind this, and hopefully it will be known one day, hopefully. The second is to become a protector. Fishmen and merfolk are attacked by humans all the time, by pirates and villains hoping to sell them on the black market. I'm going to make a stand against it and show the people. I will defend them even if I have to put my life on the line to do so. Jinbei looked in shock at this resolve before noticing what he thought was both Fisher Tiger and Queen Odahime next to Izuku. He shut his eyes for a moment to no longer see them and smile. So you are inheriting their will. Very well then. I'll train you. We start the second you get better, so make sure you rest up, you'll need it. Jinbei walked away with Izuku remaining and watched the kingdom he swore to protect to himself. Mom. I promise I'll protect this island and their people. You have my word as your son on that. As Izuku had begun living amongst the residents of Fishman Island, he began to see the true struggle of the residents. In this, Izuku had witnessed his adopted mother Queen Odahime be shot in hopes to defend him. This incident only becomes worse as Izuku realizes who the gunner was. After speaking with King Neptune, he began to realize and make a decision of his own in hopes to pursue Odahime's dream for their people and stand as the Ryugu Kingdom's protector. 12 years later, age 19, Izuku Pav. It's been over a decade since my mother's passing and my taking up arms as a defender of this country she and I love. Somebody stop him, he has my son. As such, I would help with the guards in defending the kingdom from human invaders. Selling the mermaid kid to the black market should be a piece of cake now. In that time, Jinbei has taught me both fishman karate and hockey used to act the role more than anything. What the? Get the hell out of the way, kid. Jinbei was also able to teach me swordsmanship, in which I made a little skill of mine that mixes both the fishmen's combat skills with it. I'm going to say this one time and only once. Put the child down. Leave this kingdom and never return. This is your first and last warning from me. You think I'm gonna listen to you? I've escaped heroes with my abilities. You're no different. Smog split. As I stood in front of the villain I was facing, he turned into smog with the child and went around me. At least, that's what he expected before I grabbed his physical body with armament hockey. What the? Humans. So quick to think they're superior if they have a quirk. I took the kid from the villain's arms and placed him safely beside me before grabbing the villain with my free hand and slamming him on the ground. But when you're faced with a power that isn't quirk-based, you're now thrown for a loop. NGH. You bastard. The villain tried to attack me with a gun for me to grab and crush it in my hand. Aw. Bad move. I used my fishman karate to punch the guy in the face and knock him out. Prince Izuku. The guards came immediately after the villain was subdued for me to stand up and walk away from them. Use quirk-canceling cuffs on him and get into contact with the pros above ground. I need to go and speak with my father before my shift at the Mermaid Cafe. I leave the rest in your reliable hands. Yes, sir. The guards saluted me and allowed me to be on my way. About a year ago, things got a little more dicey for the Ryugu Kingdom. Even though we are protected by the government, their reach almost never is extended down here. The Marines that help protect us normally just wait at the entrance or the exit up above for people to come in or out with a lot flowing in. Thanks to a deal a while back, our kingdom was protected by one man's flag. Whitebeard. Now there was a human you could respect. From what my father said, he and Whitebeard had a history together where he agreed to let our kingdom use his flag as a protection with no added strings. Something about a sharing of sake cups with one another or something. I'm not sure on the details completely, but our sake is really good. Dad gave me a little when I turned 19 since I was responsible enough to drink a bit. I entered the palace and created a small air bubble for me to walk to the throne room. Seeing my father and both ministers beside him, I bowed and showed my respect. Father, you had summoned me? Yes. I'd like to have a talk again about your future, my son. I gritted my teeth in agitation hearing this, as this is probably going to lead to me going up above for learning at a human college. I know you're dead set against going above ground, but please hear me out. Unlike your siblings and the rest of our kingdom, you are not shunned to stand among humans, being one yourself. As such, keeping you down here will narrow your mind and not allow you to see the world as a whole. But your majesty, this kingdom would be in harm's way of invaders if that was the case. That is why I have an offer for you. The minister of the left gave me a few papers with names and pictures of women. Some were human, while others were. Let's just say they weren't like a human if anything. What our minister has given you is 4 factions that wish to offer a treaty with our kingdom in exchange for a political marriage. They are also not prone to the idea of sharing you with Shirley, since I know you two have had a relationship for some time. I glanced down the factions wanting to offer arranged marriages. Germa 66, Zoe, Beast Pirates and Big Mom Pirates. Seems like quite a set. Yes, my son. They had heard of the powerful human protector of the Fishman and insisted on having you become their son-in-law. I tried to reason with them and suggest one of your brothers, but they said it would only work if you accept it. I let out a sigh before asking a serious question to my father. What are the other conditions to this? If you accept Big Mom's offer, she wishes to have a factory built here and is to have a monthly supply of 3 tons of candy given to her in agreement. Kaido's offer would be similar but with sake. We would have to increase the volume of both factories we have currently if that were the case for either. Germa 66 would like to create a base here near the edge of the mainland to the island. Out of the way, but we would be responsible for funding it. If it were to be though, the number of armed forces on the island would increase. From what I am told, Duke Dogstorm and Lord Catviper are at ends of what they want. Dogstorm wishes to establish a trade route for products we produce in exchange for their fruits grown on the island. If anything, we can give them clams that are on the bottom seafloor or salt or the kale we produce. Meanwhile, Lord Catviper wishes to establish a second home for the Minx people as well as a possible fish trade route. Either or would be fantastic for our people. I pinched the bridge of my nose before folding up the papers and pictures to put them in my pocket. I can't think of accepting this right off the bat, Your Majesty. Give it some time. There will be a meeting for this in 7 months. Take that as time to determine what you wish to do. However, I would greatly appreciate it if you would take both paths you could take into deep consideration as both the king and your father. I'll think about it. I walked out of the palace and immediately went down towards Mermaid Cove to avoid being late for my shift. If I'm late because of this, Shire is gonna kill me. 10 minutes later, walking in a matter of seconds before the clock hit when my shift started, I punched in and began work in the kitchen right away. However, Shirley was right in the kitchen waiting. You're cutting it close. What kept you? My dad wanted another talk about my future. This time it was also about arranged marriages that involve you. To be honest, I'm happy I'm here instead of talking about these things. Too frustrating. I started putting on an apron and started any prep I could while continuing the conversation I was having. So are you going to agree to them? I don't want to make you feel second best. You know you're the only woman that I want. A few years back, I gave Shirley a love confession with it somewhat shocking her. We had a nice friendship going forward, but somewhere along that line, my feelings went from liking her to loving her and I was afraid I was going to screw something up if I said anything. So I tried waiting and eventually got the courage to say what I wanted to and she accepted it. We try and keep our relationship professional in front of everyone, but they all know we're dating to make the fact we don't make it a big deal somewhat surprising to them. Look, Izuku. I know you want to keep me in this island in your heart, but you need to see the world soon. Shire. I don't want to leave you all. What would happen to the people if I leave? Crime will increase because I'm not trying to help stop it. You and I know that. I started placing an order out in the window for one of the girls working the cafe to grab and send it out. I know you don't, and arguably this arranged marriage is a way to help you, but I think you should at least go up above the surface. Shirley. You can't be serious. I am. To be honest, I think learning about the outside world will help benefit you. The people of this island can't do that because of one difference you have compared to them. You're human. That means the law that forbids fishmen from going above ground doesn't apply to you. So if you could, I highly recommend you consider the thought of going above very seriously. To me, I honestly want what is better for you above all else for a decision like this. Shirley went out of the kitchen and into the common area for me to start plating another order to avoid having to think about this. I hate it when Shirley is right about these things. I placed an order in the window and called out and got it. I've got a clam special on table 23. Later that evening, after completing my shift at the Mermaid Cafe, I began to sit out in the dining area for my time alone with Shirley to come. She was finishing up some last-minute closing things before coming over and sitting in a half-circle booth with me and relaxing. Are we free to relax together? Yes. We are. I smiled before hugging Shirley and kissing her lips. She genuinely accepted this with her tail fin beginning to wag. After I pulled away from the kiss, I smirked at her. I see you're happy to do that. Shut up. Today was harder than normal because a certain someone cut it so close. Not only that, but one of my girls called out sick today and I couldn't get another girl in today, so we were short-staffed. I started to laugh at this before Shirley Karate chopped my head. Stop laughing at me, jerk. Sorry, he. I'll stop. We sat in satisfying silence as I held Shirley in my arms. So, the arranged marriages. Who are they with? From the Big Mom Pirates, the 21st daughter Praline Charlotte. The Beast Pirates. First daughter Yamato and a member of the Tabirapo, Ulti. The Kingdom of Zo, a dog mink Wanda and a rabbit mink Carrot. Both are rulers' aides from what the papers said, so they are not connected to one of their kings. Zo has more than one king. From what I've read of Zo, they have two different kings protecting it depending on what time of day it is. One handles 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., while the other handles 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sounds more like shifts at a job than anything. That's the type of feeling I got from it as well, but the people also are altered by this and immediately go to sleep with roughly half the total population active at a single moment. Anyway, the final offer is from Germa 66 Vinsmoke family. Reiju Vinsmoke. I pulled out the papers along with something I wrote down for what they want as an offer for our kingdom alongside them during my spare time. So in exchange for the marriage, would the Ryugu kingdom be involved with the family in ways that would require us to sacrifice for it? Possibly. For Big Mom and Kaido, they want either the sweets factory to produce 3 tons of candy or 3 tons of sake per month with us having their flag in exchange. So if we were to accept this deal, we'd be having an emperor's flag to protect us again, which could hypothetically reduce crime in fear of angering them, but we would without a doubt have to increase the size of either factory for this to even be possible. If we create a deal with the Vinsmoke family, we'd have members of their army here to increase our guards. However, this could bring in more problems since it could give problems with the world government. If we go with Zo's offer, we'd establish a trade route with the kingdom. Unfortunately, Zo constantly moves since it's on an elephant's back, so distance for products from them is always varying. Shirley pulled out her pipe to light it and breathe in some of the smoke while contemplating what the offers were. So you have an offer between protecting the island like before but with a mandatory supply needed within a time frame, a questionable increase of security or a trade route that is not completely reliable. That is quite the difficult decision. I kept contemplating this before a knock at the door came. Shirley was about to get up before I stopped her and got up myself. Going to the door, I opened the shutters to apologize to the person. Sorry, we're closed. Actually, I'm not here as a customer. I'm here to look for you. 4th Prince of the Ryugu Kingdom. I took a closer look at the person who held a physical feature that made him look like a seal while also having human features and wearing what looked like a wetsuit. You mind if I come in, kid? I shrugged my shoulders before allowing him in. We walked to the table Shirley was at to sit down across from one another. I'm guessing you're that Shirley woman that runs this place? Indeed. Would you mind telling me what this is about, sir? I'll get right to the point then. I'm a pro that works with the kingdom. Selkie the sea rescue hero. You've done business with our kingdom before capturing villains that hide here that I take down because pro heroes let them slip by. Normally you or one of your men from the Oki Mariner comes to pick them up. Having a seal mutation quirk allows you to use your voice to act as a sonar to determine opponents. Your work speaks for itself and you give respect where respect is due. An admirable person in my opinion. So you know me. That makes this a little easier on me to explain. He cleared his throat to get to why he came here. So I had actually been on the island trying to apprehend Smog, the villain you took down today, and I noticed you handled someone with a hostage rather well. Tell me something, have you ever considered going into the pro-hero business? You could do a great deal if you do. Not interested. Why? With a quirk like yours, you'd be an amazing... What I used wasn't a quirk and it without a doubt would be wasted up there being a hero to humans who will only stab you in the back when push comes to shove. I was pissed off that Selkie brought up quirks to make it perfectly clear I had no desire for anything regarding humanity. Now I have some important matters to discuss, so I was immediately hit over the head with Shirley's pipe for her to stop me. Izuku. Listen to what he has to say completely and do not let your personal grudge cloud your judgment right now. She turned to Selkie and tried to apologize. I hope he didn't hit a sore spot. Izuku has had a personal struggle with humanity as a whole from what interaction he's had to leave a rather bitter personal image of humans as a whole on him. I apologize on his behalf. The pro seemed a little confused with this before continuing. Anyway, I had spoken with your father as well as a school that I have connections with. They'd be more than willing to bring along the Iron Fist of Fishman Island next year if you were to go on recommendation by me. He passed a small brochure to me that held the school he was talking about. It's a college called UA. It's one of the most esteemed hero schools out there. If you were to go, we'd also be able to bring more attention to possibly having fishmen and merfolk able to come above water through a cultural exchange program with the school. Having you for 3 years would begin this and in return, could allow for a chance of this being a great thing for the people of this island. I glanced through the information given with it being a boarding college and thought about it for a moment. If I were to accept this, then that means I could open up a chance for the future generations to go above ground. However, my mind went to Shirahoshi and the people of this island if they were not accepted above ground. I let out a sigh while trying to determine what to do. For now, I need to hold my decision. In the next 7 months, I am to have a marriage offer among the Big Mom Pirates, the Beast Pirates, Germa 66 and the island of Zo. Then perhaps we could make an offer with them present as well. I will explain this to the principal of UA and possibly have someone from the school present to help with it. I'm sure if they know of a possible route you are going, it could make a difference with how their offers come. Selkie got up after this to bow at me. Thank you for listening. I shall be off, but be in touch. He walked away with what he said lingering in my mind. UA. Huh? Perhaps being a hero will help in more ways for us than one. But what about the marriages? I kept this in mind and how I should progress with this. As a way to assist his people, Izuku had decided to become a protector of Fishman Island. For the last 12 years, he has put himself to this decision and succeeded. In a way to help the kingdom though, he has been put into a unique situation where multiple offers to assist Fishman Island had come in with marriage offers for him. Upon speaking about this with his current girlfriend Shirley, the two decide what to do for their future. Izuku Pav. 7 months had passed in a blink of an eye, with today being the day that the meeting for the arranged marriages were to happen. The people of the kingdom as well as the guards were informed of what was to happen to avoid any unease to sprout. With this, both me and Shirley were asked to work as diplomats for our kingdom since all of this is about our involvement with the political works. Before this though, I wanted to speak with my sister and forewarn her about what was to come. Wah, I'm sorry I can't help you, brother. Shirahoshi began to cry with me trying to console her. It's okay, sis. It's not your fault you can't help. Besides, these people can be scary, so I'd rather you not get involved if you don't have to. She tried to prevent herself from crying with her eyes opening up, still watering from what's happening. I just wanted to explain to you what's happening so you don't get scared of any other people coming here. Some are scary pirates that I'd rather keep you from having to deal with. Sniffle, but don't you already have Shirley? I made sure with her that this was okay. I have to as someone that loves her. Regularly with our talks amongst one another, Shirahoshi would talk about Shirley and ask how things are with us for me to explain some pleasant stories to her. It still broke my heart knowing I had to leave my, not so, little sister in a tower. But it was the best thing that we could do. Especially since 5 years ago Vanderdecken started throwing weapons instead of just love letters. Right now, the safest spot for her is unfortunately her room with the doors shut. I promise when all of this is done, I'll come back here and let you meet your new in-laws. I'll even bring Shirley along. She's genuinely curious how you're doing. Promise. Have I ever let go of a promise I made to you? I smiled at her and held out my pinky to have Shirahoshi hold hers out. Cross my heart. Hope to die. Stick a needle in my eye. Saying this phrase made Shirahoshi start to cry again. Why, you don't have to go that far, brother. It's a phrase. Don't worry. I won't stick a needle in my eye or anything like that. I glanced down at my watch to notice it was about time. I gotta go. I'll be back when it's all over. I left the room and began shutting the door. While I did, I felt the presence of an axe coming to jump up and punch it, shattering it to pieces. I finished shutting the door to shout out to the direction it was coming from. You wanna mess with my sister, you mess with me, Vanderdecken. Why don't you face me like a man instead of a coward? You're in high spirits today. I turned to see Jinbei smile at me while I presented my feats. Is Arlong and Aladdin in the meeting hall? Yes. They're waiting with Shirley. I smiled while walking towards the meeting area. Also, our guest from UA is here. Who's sent? The principal. His name is Nezu. A small rodent that is able to talk from a high IQ quirk from what I am told. I was mildly surprised by this as the principal of the school wanted to meet me. You never told me what your plan is. Any idea what you'll do? I've went over it with Arlong and Shirley since she's involved in this and Arlong wouldn't cooperate otherwise. I will say what I have you and the Sun Pirates involved in isn't dangerous. I promise you that. We continued to walk down to the meeting hall with the principal coming up in front of me. Hello. My name is Nezu. Am I a dog? Am I a bear? Who cares? All that matters is I'm the principal of UA University. The small rodent started laughing at his joke to make me smile a bit. Mr. Ryugu, if I presume? Yes. It is nice of you to come all the way out here to meet with us. I hope you are not uneasy having a discussion with criminals like the Vinsmoke family or two of the pirate emperors. Not at all. As long as I can assist in the positive growth of people, it is my duty as a teacher to help where I am needed. I pulled a chair out for him near the end beside Jinbei with the small rodent appreciating it. I also took note to put a few books on the seat to accommodate his size. This earned a small snicker from Shirley as her and the rest of our guests dressed rather nicely for the occasion. Prince Izuku. The guests have arrived at the front gate. A guard spoke on a transponder snail for me to speak into it. Send them into the grand hall. Both my father and I are ready for them. The soldier did as I asked for there to be a silence for the next 2 minutes before the sound of footsteps were heard. Once the figures came into view, we noticed several beings that looked very abnormal walking in. Presenting, Captain of the Beast Pirates, Kaido, accompanied by the first daughter Yamato and Lady Ulti. Presenting, Captain of the Big Mom Pirates, Charlotte Linlin aka Big Mom, accompanied by the 21st daughter, Praline Charlotte. Presenting the King of Germa, King Judge Vinsmoke, accompanied by the first daughter, Reiju Vinsmoke. Presenting, both Kings of Zou, Duke Dogstorm and Lord Cat Viper, accompanied by Lady Carrot and Lady Wanda. I immediately stood up at seeing the guests and bowed along with everyone else but Arlong. Honored guests. Allow me to be the first to welcome you to our island. It is an honor to have you all visit us. Father spoke with all of our guests sitting down. Most weren't exactly fond of having be in the same room as some, but let their anger be subdued for now. Starting now, I shall allow my fourth son to speak on our kingdom's behalf as this pertains more to him than myself. I stood up and cleared my throat to begin talking. Thank you, Father. Now, as I had explained on transponder snails to all of you, I have this conversation being recorded and expressed to both the people of this kingdom as well as the hero board above ground. This is to make sure there is no misinformation of what our dealings are to hold. I hope you all can understand. Each ruler nodded for me to continue. Very well. Now to begin, I would like you all to be introduced to the man sitting closest to my father. His name is Nezu and is the principal of a university I am planning to attend this March. In this time, I will try and establish a way for my people to go above ground legally and learn amongst humans as a broadening of their horizon. Due to that, this may require some of our deals to change if at all, to which I would need you all to be aware of. Enough with this, I just want to make a deal so I can have this island's candy for my tea parties. I don't want to be here any longer with this man. Big Mom began pointing at Kaido for him to glare at her. You're lucky I'm even restraining myself from killing you. Last time we met, I made it a personal goal that I'd end your life if I ever saw you again. The two began arguing with Duke Dogstorm and Lord Cat Viper starting things up as well. Can we at least do something with all this water? The smell of wet dog is disgusting. Says the stupid cat. Both glared at one another with the arguments making it impossible for me to get through to anyone. Things were about to get heated with some pulling weapons for me to stand up and use Conqueror's Hockey on everyone. Enough. Sit down. Now, everyone felt my presence to stop and sit down, somewhat amazed I had this power. Now, allow us to go over what we have in deals. Are there any changes in the agreements that you have given us? Nobody raised their hands for this to make things easier. All right. Then allow me to go over them one at a time so we are all on the same page. Kaido. You wish to offer both your daughter Yamato and one of your crew members Ulti as well as the use of your flag in exchange for giving you 3 tons of our sake each month. Unfortunately, we would need to increase the size of the factory we currently have to make that supply without unease of not meeting the criteria. This would require at least 3 to 4 months to expand the factory on the island due to the manpower needed as well as the shipping of supplies. To sweeten the deal, I could assist in the supply of products from my country. One of our major exports is steel and we have a few builders that can help. That could assist greatly. I turned to Big Mom next to go over what she is offering. Big Mom, in exchange for marrying your daughter Praline, you are offering us the ability to use your flag as well in exchange for producing 3 tons of candy we make here every month. The issue is the same as Kaido's request where we would have to wait at least 3 to 4 months to do so. Ma. Leave laying the foundation to me. I may not have many trade areas with steel, but I have far more men that can make structures 10 times what you need. Ma. Interesting. Now, Judge Vinsmoke. In exchange for marrying your daughter Reiju, you wish to have a base made here. Unfortunately, the best we can do is give you an area that is filled with vacant houses that have been empty for quite some time. That though will require 2 months to level and another 8 at least to have it up to speed. My men will assist in this with my first son Ichijin overlooking the work. All you'd have to do is supply the land and funds and we'll handle the rest. That won't be how things go. You are free to make the fortress how you wish it, but we must know for the safety of our people what is in the fortress. There is no negotiating against this, so we understand the dangers we impose on the fishmen and merfolk. As long as you keep in touch with us and avoid dangerous bioweapons or weapons of mass warfare on the island, I don't have much of a problem with this, as well as the people of this island having a buffer for when I am not here on the island for defense. I turned to Duke Dogstorm and Lord Catviper. In exchange for making the agreement with Zoe, you are to offer us 2 of your most respected soldiers, Carrot and Wanda, in a marriage. In exchange, you wish to establish a trade route and a second home for the Mink tribe. Now this one I want to do personally due to the fact it would bring unique goods into this kingdom, but the lack of stability makes me question if it can be done. Zoe is a ghost island, so gaining products from you is never easy. We would easily be able to follow using a Viver card and an eternal log post, but that doesn't mean the demand and the supply will be even. Not only that, but if we were to determine food that is perishable, we would have to amount to how much we'd obtain that is fresh and or safe to consume. We can establish routes with what we have determined of our island's traveling patterns. We also have been given supply ships recently from some out-of-region allies. We can store products without them dying in quality. Not only that, Gara, but we have the ability to protect ourselves even as children from invaders. Taking supplies from us is next to impossible. Nya. I started to think of the best way to manage the dealings to get an idea. If I were to hypothetically accept all these offers, would any of you have trouble with this? All looked at each other without a response for me to continue. Alright. So this is what I have come up with that I think everyone benefits from. Since Zoe has the ships, we shall establish them as a center trade route. This will allow them to be a post between Wano and here as well as a resupply harbor. In ideal hopes, this will also allow trade between Wano and Zoe to increase your offers. If at some point Big Mom would be able to establish trade with us, that would only make the you being the center trade port more useful and plentiful. This oversight will be watched over by the ministers of the right and left for our kingdom. I would strongly urge you all to do the same with one of your trusted officials. Meanwhile, Kaido's steel will assist in the expansion of the candy factory and the sake factory using Big Mom's men as assisting workers. With hope, the number of months goes down with this due to the metals needed as well as the manpower. Assisting in negotiations will be for the Beast Pirates will be the captain of the Arlong Pirates. Arlong himself, and negotiations for the Big Mom Pirates will be held with the captain of the Sun Pirates, Jinbei. Furthermore, handling of the fortress will be spoken through Aladdin, who is the first mate of the Sun Pirates. Nothing will be accepted without his approval, and he will require a monthly evaluation of what you have on hand as well as exports so our kingdom doesn't fall into any mistrust with the government. You have free range of the base, but will also have your men work with our guards as a protection to the island. Not only that, but please avoid using this base as a silo for weapons in any war you are currently active in. This goes for all of you and not just Germa 66. Any objections? Nobody argued with this, somewhat helping. Very well. Then I suppose we have no other matters to address. I thank you all for coming and I hope you have a journey home that is both safe and pleasant. We shall finalize the last bits and the finite details on another day. Everyone began getting up with only the women that were part of my marriage offers being left. As we sat in awkward silence, the mink women were the first to speak. So you're this kingdom's defender and prince? Yes. Carrot, right? Carrot nodded before I continued. I'll show you all to your rooms momentarily. You can use that as a place to live for now until I shall sleep in your room. The woman with blue hair that I knew of as Ulti spoke up with her feet being put on the table. We're husband and wife. Wives. So we should share a bed together. That is a wife's job, is it not? Ulti glared at me with aggression as I glared at her back. To be honest, I hated the fact of sharing a room with her or Yamato, much less a bed. Her attitude quickly changed to that of a crying woman when I started glaring at her. Wahhhh. Do you hate me? Do you hate the fact I'm your wife now? Huh? I want Pei here? Is this girl insane? Also, who the hell is Pei? Hey. The girl named Yamato slammed her hands on the table with extreme anger. Are you gonna keep these bombs on me, or take them off? Everyone panicked as Yamato said that there were bombs on her. You brought a bomb to this meeting. No, my asshole father put them on me because I was being rebellious and acting more like Odin. They only go off if I disobey him or act outside of his control. I felt my rage for Yamato diverge from her and be replaced with pity knowing she's a prisoner in a way. I got up and began walking around the table to her and glanced at the binds on her wrists. Using armament hockey, I crushed the binds and tossed them out a window for an explosion to happen. Fortunately, nobody got hurt by it, but it did give a little shock to everyone. You just broke the cuffs with just your bare hands? My new husband is so strong. So quickly Ulti went from a crying baby to a doting wife for it to give me a headache. Shirley, can you see about moving into the Ryugu Palace? If they're living in my room, I want you in it as well to make things fair. I figured this might be the case, so I had some important things of mine set up prior to leaving. I can get the things I need to wait to take later. Perfect. Any chance you'd be willing to come and see Shirahoshi? She wants to see you again. Shirley understood and followed me out. We started walking away to try and see my sister with Reiju following. What are you doing? Trying to determine what your daily life consists of. It's only reasonable. Sigh, fine. But try not to harm my sister's feelings, she's a gentle soul. Fair enough. In order to help the people of Fishman Island, Izuku decides to create a treaty with several groups. In an attempt to do this, he finds himself engaged to several women alongside his relationship with Shirley. Izuku Pav. It's been about a month since the meeting and the agreements with the Four Kingdoms with things being annoying to me. I regularly sleep with all the girls in my bed because of Ulti and her arguments saying that married couples should sleep in the same bed as one another. She might not be wrong, but I'd rather not sleep with human women personally. Speaking of Ulti, she regularly gets into fights with Yamato and on a daily basis, breaks something or destroys a wall. I offered my father to have me and the girls move down to the kingdom to avoid having to pay for significant damage, but he said he'd rather keep the damage in our castle instead of the kingdom itself and disturbing the people. I have also somewhat understood that Yamato had quite the grudge against her father since she was rebellious and was put in prison because of it. I felt somewhat empathy for her to understand where she was in all this. Today, I'm waking up to my normal routine with the girls hugging me and feeling something lick my ear and bite my collarbone. Damn, these mink girls know how to make me uncomfortable. For Wanda and Carrot, I didn't have much against them mainly because of them being animals more than humans. I do have a problem with waking up to Wanda's tongue in my ear and Carrot biting my collarbone. For a rabbit, her teeth hurt. Hey, Carrot. You mind waking up? Carrot started to open her eyes and look up to me with a smile. Morning, Izuku. Garchu. Why yeah. Garchu. Carrot immediately started rubbing her cheek to mine with my blood pressure rising higher than it already was. It seems Carrot's getting the initiative today. I even wore something nice to bed to try and get you hot under the collar. I heard Praline speak up to see her in a translucent purple set of lingerie to give me problems where to look. Hey, if anyone's having fun first, it's me. Ulti shouted while coming up from the covers to show her in a similar styled nightgown as Praline's attire but in a blue color. You all are so annoying early in the morning. Can't you just sleep? Yamato spoke while coming up over the covers with absolutely nothing on her. Says the woman that's naked. We're husband and wife, wives. So what's the point? The point is, don't get in my way of making things better between me and Izutan. Both Ulti and Yamato started a full-on argument with it now waking up Shirley and Wanda. Can you two please shut up? This is the first day off I had in 2 weeks and I want to rest. Well, at least we know their lively first thing. Good morning, Izuku. Garchu. Wanda started rubbing her cheek on mine for my mind to go into overdrive. I'm gonna go take a shower to help wake me up. In the meantime, can you get off of me without anything on you? I shouted at Yamato for her to get tackled down by Ulti to have them start fighting. Girls, it's too early to do this. Knock it off. I glanced around to notice Reiju was not in the bed to pose this to everyone. Did anyone see Reiju? I felt a tap on my lower abdomen with the Vinsmoke girl popping her head out. Seems you're lively today. She smirked with her hand grabbing something I'd rather her not. Okay. Let me out. Wanda. Carrot. Can you stop them? Right. Roger. The two went over to pull both Ulti and Yamato apart as I pulled my legs out and started heading to my dresser. As I did, I glanced down to stare at Reiju holding my boxers. Can I please have those back? She handed them back to me with each of the girls staring blankly at me. My eyes are up here. I pointed upwards to my eyes with it not helping at all as they simply stared at me shocked. What the hell did I get myself involved in? Few hours later. Clear your mind of all thoughts. Focus on your breathing. Since I was given the day off today from the Mermaid Cafe due to renovations, I decided to spend the day relaxing and focusing on my training. For this, I asked Jinbei for help, to which he happily agreed. Envision your breathing and the air filling your lungs. As you exhale, think of all the negative thoughts inside you being taken out as well. Izutan. I heard Ulti shout for me with the door to the training room being kicked open. Do something. This is so boring. Can't you see I'm trying to meditate? I opened one eye to the beast pirate for her to grab my shirt and start shaking me. No fair. You're never able to entertain me. Do something. Do something. Do something. Punch a fishman. Fight me. Do something to stop me from being bored. I felt a vein pop in my head as I couldn't even get a minute of peace and quiet. I was about to snap with Shirley walking in. Ulti. I'm taking a trip down to the kingdom with the others and I was wondering if you'd like to join. Finally, something to do. Ulti threw me back to the ground before heading out of the room. Once she was gone, I let out a huge sigh before getting back in my position to meditate. You seem to be having troubles recently. I shrugged my shoulders at Jinbei's comment. It's just been a little more crazy as of recently. I can assume. We sat in silence for a few minutes before Jinbei spoke up. Izuku. Do you genuinely wish to continue the route you are going? It's for the people. Of course. It's not the people though you must look to make happy now. Yes, you made the deals you did with the kingdoms for our people, but the happiness you must keep is not theirs but the women you are engaged to. I understand that the marriages you are given are politically motivated, but that means you are more inclined to make certain these women are happy. They did not choose this with time given to know you, so their position in this is just as sophisticated as your own. Do not take this for granted since half of the obligation you are under now is making sure your fiancés are happy. I took these words to heart a bit, knowing Jinbei is not one that tries to steer me wrong. You're right. Do you mind if we cut this training a little short? I understand you have obligations, so I do not. I got up and decided to put on something nice and meet the girls in the city. Chances are, the girls went to Gioverly Hills if they're going shopping. It's one of the better places that they'll be more willing to shop in. At Gioverly Hills, Ulti Pav. That pain in the ass. Why is Izutan so difficult? After being pulled out by Shirley, us and the rest of the girls began heading towards some of the shops on the island. My head was still fuming after knowing Izuku refuses to do anything interesting. You can't blame him. Not everything is done in significance here. Izuku also wants to make sure things are stable and peaceful here instead of causing trouble. Shirley spoke while pulling her pipe out to smoke it. That, and also I'm amazed he went this route given his history with humans. Izuku has trouble with humans? The Mutt asked this, making me curious too. It's not my place to say this, but he does have a troubled past with them. You know, that makes me wonder something. Why is a human part of the royal family in a kingdom of fish to begin with? It makes no sense. Yamato tries to wrap her head around it for the reasoning to somewhat reveal itself to me. No big deal. Let's just see what they got for fitting in with the locals here. Are you insulting the clothing Kaido gave you? I felt the urge to kill the bitch right there with her motioning to the people. We stick out like a sore thumb. You want to look stupid? I'd rather do that without disrespecting my captain. Unlike you who does nothing but causes problems. Says a woman that thinks everything in life can be solved by headbutting something. Says a bitch who can't understand that Odin was a problem for the country of Wano and had to be dealt with. You wanna go? Bitch? Bring it. We were about to start throwing down before having a large amount of electricity go through us thanks to the rabbit and mutt. Alright. Let's tone it down. We're in public. A crowd began to form with the hammerhead pulling us into a criminal clothing line store. Welcome. How can we help you today? My friends here are looking for something a little more common to wear around here. Would you mind helping them? Shyly asked with the fishwoman looking at us and smiling. Anything for the wives of the reliable Prince Izuku. She went to work and showed us some of their clothing lines. I wasn't fond of changing what I like to wear, but figured it might help since sometimes a change of clothing as I read helps change some moods of guys. So tell me something, shopkeep. What makes Izutan so special to you all? He's a human after all. Well, I don't know much, but the youngest prince is someone that fights for the fishmen and merfolk of this kingdom. He'd never raise a hand to us even if we were committing crimes. He tries hard to bring forth the late queen's visions of the world too. Kinda why you all are here. I thought of this for a second to understand what the shopkeep said. So he's beloved by the people and he loves the people of this land. Quite a person of interest. But what does Kaido see that I don't? I tried thinking of this before a large amount of gunfire was heard to see a few fishmen outside pointing weapons at the people. Alright. All of you give us your loot and nobody gets hurt. They tried robbing everyone in the district with all of them looking somewhat scared and uneasy for some reason. These guys are a piece of cake for me. I started to walk out before having my arm held by Shirley. Why are you stopping me? I'm trying to stop you from making problems for yourself and the people. These guys are just petty crooks. They look more like they're ready to piss their pants. How is this going to cause problems? It's because of what is stopping them if you were to get involved. Not who. I didn't get this before hearing the fishman speaking again and shooting the gun a second time. Get out of here, Prince Izuku. This has nothing to do with you, I don't want to hurt you. So back off. The fishman shouted for us to see Izutan walking over. This has everything to do with me. You're harming the people. Now why don't you put the gun down and we can talk this over as civilized beings. He tried walking closer with the idiot prepared to shoot. Get back. Don't make me use this. Izutan didn't back down as he kept walking. There was a bit of unease happening with the fishmen around pulling the kids away so they tried to avoid seeing this. The gunman began shaking more before shouting at the top of his lungs. Oh. He immediately opened fire at Izutan with him stopping as this happened. Izuku. We immediately ran towards him with the fishman bastard that shot at him falling to his knees. Oh my god. What have I done? I killed our protector for what? Chump change. I didn't even want to do this, but I had nothing else I could do. The two others beside the person that shot stood in disbelief with all of us panicking. However, Izutan began standing straight again with the bullets that were shot turning to small pieces of metal. Have you calmed down enough yet? Did shooting a human quell your anger at least a little? The clothing on Izutan's abdomen opened up to reveal he held armament hockey. Because if you truly wish for more blood, then I shall be more than willing to allow you to strike me until you are free of your rage. Well, what's it going to be? Though he didn't lift a finger, the fishmen that were attacking lost all will to fight. They dropped their weapons for the royal guards to take them in. I didn't have much choice in this, sir. The gunner spoke as he left the area. I can understand. You're from the Fishman district, but that doesn't justify the actions and you have to pay consequences for them. He walked up towards us with everyone speechless at what happened. The first to speak was Shirley, who pulled Izutan's cheek. That was stupid and dangerous. Will you ever learn to let the royal guards handle the problem? Showy. My mind went to a talk I had with Kaido a week ago as he explained what he saw in Izutan in his own words. Flashback to 1 week ago. That boy is special. Okay. But how? It's hard to put in words, but there is a difference between a man that rules for himself and a man that rules for his people. That day at the palace, I learned what Izuku Ryugu is. He is a born leader of his people. Only a small few among the rulers today are naturally gifted to bring the people together and rule for them. The Nefertari family. The Riku family. Odin. This boy, he's more than just a prince. He will become the man to succeed the current king and bring the island to greatness. Back to present, I didn't know what Kaido meant by that, but now I think I do. Izutan is a true king to be. I stood frozen there for a few seconds before coming back to Izutan getting my attention. Why you all? Look. Very pretty. He tried to give a compliment as I looked down and realized I was still wearing a long sleeve with the collar of the shirt brought down past my shoulders and a pair of tight jeans. Ah. Thank you for the compliment. The hammerhead woman immediately started hugging him with the mutt and rabbit licking and hugging him while nibbling on Izutan's neck. The calmness of the area was nice with the Vinsmoke girl speaking up. I think it's best we head back. We've already caused enough of a scene here. Okay. Anyone opposed? None of us stuck our hands up for Izutan to walk over to the cashier. How much for the clothes they're wearing? The shopkeeper told him and he friggin' paid for our clothes. What the heck happened to have this 180? Alright. Let's head back. I'm sure news of this incident reached father and he's probably worried sick right about now. We agreed and walked out. While we did though, I grabbed Izutan's arm and held him close while resting my head on his shoulder. You know something, I think I like you more after seeing what you did there. He smiled as we stayed in silence until the trip home. In hopes to assist the Ryugu kingdom, Izuku had taken upon the offers of several major powers in the world. As such, he had brought himself into the arranged marriage of several women. In this ordeal, he had presented the women he is engaged with an image of how his ordeals for the people have been and his own dedication to them. Wanda Pav. The afternoon came with Carrot and I having little to do. Most of the morning we trained to keep our edge before heading out. Excuse me. Are the two of you busy? We turned to see Izuku's oldest brother Fukaboshi with a boxed lunch in his hands. What can we do for you? My brother forgot his lunch today. It's a bit of a distance where he works and if you have something else planned, I fully understand why you wouldn't wish to. Actually, we were discussing what we should do today and seeing what Izuku does most days could be helpful. Also, it would be fun if we surprised him by coming to his work. Carrot started to laugh before Fukaboshi smiled and handed me the lunch. Thank you and I truly am sorry for imposing on the both of you. Nonsense. It's not that big of a deal. Where does Izuku work, by the way? The merman seemed to be a little more at ease with us as I said this. In Mermaid Cove, there's the Mermaid Cafe. It's a restaurant run by Shirley. Izuku works as both a singer and cook there. That's so cool. What's the cafe like? Fukaboshi was having difficulty explaining what it was to Carrot to give a questionable response. Let's just say it's not a normal cafe. Anyway, I truly appreciate what you are doing. He bowed before heading off. I wonder what the Mermaid Cafe is like. Half an hour later at the Mermaid Cafe. Walking up to the entrance, Carrot and I noticed the outside looking rather nice with a list outside of people's names. What's this? Looks like a list of people that work today. Izuku's name is right here. I placed my finger under his name before standing up straight. Why don't we get lunch here? It's bound to have something good to eat. You think they have sea carrots sold here? I laughed at Carrot's comment before walking in with her behind me. Upon entering, we noticed that most tables were booths as well as the servers being rather close to the male customers almost. Shirley runs a brothel. Both me and Carrot came to this conclusion with a mermaid that had red hair and a pink bikini on coming up to us and smiling. Welcome to the Mermaid Cafe. Is it just the two of you or are we waiting for more? Just the two of us. Also, we have a lunchbox for Izuku that he forgot at home. I showed the lunchbox for the woman to seem rather happy. Oh, you must be two of his fiancés. Madam Shirley tells us all about you. You must be Wanda and Carrot. Right this way, the show's about to start. Show. We followed the waitress to our table with her giving us menus. She said her name was Coral and that the music should start soon. Out of nowhere, the lights started to dim with a spotlight up near the stage in the back. Fishfolk and merfolk. Please sit back and enjoy the music of our very own Izuku Ryugu. Everyone started clapping with Izuku sitting on a stool up front with a band. He seemed to be more at ease than he normally was before he began to strum on a guitar he had in his hands. Web links he started singing with his voice seeming to be both at peace, but also in pain. Everyone around though seemed to love the music, with Carrot seeming to have little worry and just enjoying it as well. I enjoyed it as well, but I felt like he was holding something back. Once he finished, everyone began clapping, with Shirley coming over to our table. Strange to see the two of you here. I apologize if we're intruding. We only came to give Izuku his lunch he forgot. Shirley glanced at the lunch to smile. He was a little excited about this recipe of stuffed clams and wanted to show me it as a possible change to ours. He was rather irritated when he noticed he forgot it. She smiled at us before sitting beside us, with Izuku starting his next song. If I remember, he wanted to sing a song that was kinda peppy and more funny. We waited for Izuku to start strumming and singing. Web links. Hearing the start, I couldn't help but start moving my head to the rhythm. One by one, everyone around us started to clap and sing along with the chorus. A smile came on Izuku's face with the second verse to make me argue that I saw him laugh a little while talking about turning people good when they're jerks. Once he got near the end, the crowd began cheering, with some guys getting a little closer to the girls. Alright. So the next song is going to be my last one. I hope you like it. The tone of the band behind him began to feel more calmer and a little serious before he started. Web links. As he played, I felt a little like he was talking about Shirley as he sang of a woman that had her own problems, before knowing for a fact when he started to seem happy and content. The second verse sounded a little more like he was having troubles with something as he spoke about compromising on something. As he came to the final verse, Izuku looked like he wanted to cry a little, for Shirley to seem rather down as well. He looks like he wants to cry. Why? He's leaving this country soon, as well as me, from what he thinks. Though he isn't actually leaving us forever, he feels like he's hurting me by going up above ground. Shirley answered Carrot's answer, with it confusing us both. Then why can't you come with him? Fishmen and merfolk aren't allowed above ground, Wanda. It's one of the reasons we remain in this bubble. Because of the world nobles, we can't go above ground without facing scrutiny or people that wish to sell us for money. Unlike us though, Izuku isn't trapped here but chooses to remain here, knowing it's not right that he has the ability to see the world and his family and loved ones can't. I felt terrible before getting an idea. What if we ask Ua to put in a word too? We've asked. It's in the process, but there's very little that can be done until then. For now, I'll just be stuck down here away from the world as well as Praline. Shirley was somewhat angry at this comment before the crowd clapped at Izuku as he walked off stage to see us. So Shirley, how did you like the performance? It was quite lovely as always. Nicely done. Izuku smiled before turning towards us. He was about to ask why we're here before being told why by Shirley. They're here to drop off your lunch. You did say you were getting cranky about leaving it. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Izuku took the meal and glanced at Shirley. She nodded and the four of us sat together before Coral came over and took our order. Izuku passed some of the clams in it to Shirley for her to have some and enjoy the taste. You're right. This recipe tastes really good. Try a round and we'll do a special to see if it sells. If it does, we have a new stuffed clam. Hey Shirley, I've been meaning to ask this, but do you run a house for prostitutes? I did a spit take of my water at Carrot's answer for Izuku and Shirley not to react in the slightest. No, I run basically a host club. To make things simple, this cafe handles relieving the stress people are most likely under having to make a journey down here, or for the locals who wish for a place where they can relax and enjoy the company of a beautiful woman. Though on the outside it does look like a brothel, we do not offer those favors to people. Thanks to an agreement she had after managing this place for some years though, Shirley did get a good deal on the apartment complexes down under the reef we're on for her employees and used to live there herself. Izuku and Shirley explained for us to see the mermaid cafe a little better. Madam Shirley, we have a problem. A mermaid with blonde hair and a green tail came over with a bit of worry. Ishali's got one of those rowdy people. Hearing this, Shirley began getting up to float over on her bubble with us, following to see some weird-looking lesser mink getting touchy with a mermaid that had white and black stripes on her tail. Please sir, that isn't the type of entertainment we offer. Come on little lad, hick why? It's all in good fun. Besides, hick that outfit is just tellin' me y'all want so hick me fun. He continued to touch her before Shirley spoke up. Excuse me, sir. But is there a problem? She seemed irritated, but held back her anger. Yeah, I'll tell y'all the problem. This guppy is being all fussy with me. He continued to grab onto the girl with her trying to pull away. I was about to intervene before Izuku held his hand out saying Shirley would handle this. I apologize, sir. This is a place of pleasure and enjoyment, but not that type. If you do not stop, I will need to ask you to leave as you are disturbing not only other guests, but my own employee. Ha ha ha. And what's a stupid fish like you gonna? I started to see a menacing aura around Shirley with everyone backing away. You honestly think you can come into my cafe, cause a ruckus, and call me a stupid fish? Shirley grabbed the man by his neck, dragged him to the door and threw him in rage out of it towards a dumpster. Next time you come back, don't show the lack of class you are right now or else. I started to panic seeing her shout and yell to start shaking in my bones. However, she quickly turned back to normal and smiled at everyone as if nothing happened. My apologies. That man had just not known what type of business this is and needed to be escorted out. Please do not worry and return to your meals. Everyone ignored this for me and Carrot to look at Izuku. Just. What was that? Shirley treats her girls with great respect. So long as you do your job right, nobody messes with you if she's here. Fortunately, her anger isn't something that lingers, so she's quick to change her mood back to normal. Izuku walked over to Shirley and began hugging her to see a smile on her face brighten her day a little after the ordeal. I couldn't believe what I saw with the whole situation, still a little surreal to me. Ahahaha. This was funny seeing that guy get thrown out the door by Shirley of all people. Glad one of us found it entertaining. Later that evening, Izuku Pav. After the ordeal with the dumbass in the restaurant, I had finished lunch with Carrot, Wanda and Shirley and continued my training of my replacement in the kitchen. Nezu had informed me a few days prior that I wouldn't have to deal with the entrance exams with the teachers by a majority deciding that I'd be accepted into the hero course with my history of being the kingdom's protector and the diplomatic policies they overheard. And that should be about it. You're in tomorrow at 10, right? Yep. So we'll keep this stock going all night. Seems a little dangerous leaving it unwatched. So long as the flames are on a low heat like this, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Also, I'll be in about 2 hours after you. I have some things I need to handle with Shirley knowing already. But good work today, Hatchin. You're like a sponge with the information. Hatchin started smiling with a big grin before thanking me. Oh, it's nothing really. I just have experience handling the takoyaki shop. Was a bit of a surprise though when I heard from Kami that you were looking for help. Then again, Jinbei did say you were handling some serious matters for the kingdom that would require you to leave our island. How's Shirley handling that? She's doing the best she can with it. It's not even like she could since she'd need to manage here. I feel bad doing this, but if I can get people to allow the citizens of Fishman Island to go above ground for school, that would make life all the more easier for our people. I smiled at this as Hatchin patted my back. Fisher Tiger would be proud of you, Izuku. I know I am and a good amount of the Arlong pirates, EU. Even Arlong himself can't deny you're trying, though he grumbles a lot about you dating his sister. We started to laugh a little before a thought of my mother came into my head. How is your family taking the news you'll leave in 2 months? My father and brothers are doing well with it. My sister is taking it the best she can. When I told Shirahoshi I was leaving the kingdom for a long period of time in 2 months, she started crying and begging me not to leave. I couldn't help but feel bad, but this was for our people, so I couldn't do anything about it. At least I know she'll be safe and the fact my position won't be taken out of what currently is for the island with Germa 66's base as well as Hatchin handling well to the new job. Still can't believe someone as nice as him is in the same crew for Arlong of all people. Talk about an oddity. Anything else we gotta do? I glanced around the kitchen for a few seconds before only seeing the last few things we do on our way out. Only the last garbage and linens. Which do you want to grab? I got the garbage. Alright. I'll get the linens then. Just toss your apron in here and I'll close it up. Hatchin did this as we walked out and tossed the last few things in the bins we needed to. We went in to grab the last of the things before I shut off some of the lights. Alright. That's all. See you tomorrow, man. Hatchin tapped his forearm with mine before heading out with a smile. Thanks. See you tomorrow, Izuku. He headed off to the Fishman district for me to go find Shirley sitting in a booth to join her and enjoy the silence as we normally do. In order to assist his people, Izuku had created multiple treaties with major powers of the world. In the time leading up to and after, he had worked in managing different aspects of the situations he is in as well as what will be as he comes toward the entrance exams for UA. Now that the time is here, we await to see what the outcome will be. Izuku Pav. The time of the entrance exams of UA finally came, with mine being primarily one of taking a test to make sure I'm on par with human schools for knowledge. Thanks to Jinbei's help with getting the information growing up and giving it to the minister of the left, I am currently about average for my age and can stand up to those that are given the tools at an early age. Welp, here's UA. One of the largest schools in the country. I stood outside the entrance with Yamato and Reiju joining me today, since Reiju wanted to learn about the school and Yamato thought I'd need backup for some reason. Alright. Now where do we go? I continued to search for what I was trying to find in the information Nezu gave for some weirdo with glasses and blue hair to immediately shout at me. Just what do you think you are doing wearing casual clothes to the most refined hero school in Japan? Have you no shame in not wearing your own high school's attire? I glanced up at the guy who didn't stand out as much to me to just ignore him. Do not ignore someone that is talking to you. Did your parents not raise you with any? Will you shut up? I'm trying to find out where I need to go for my exam. I finally snapped at the guy who still seemed to be irritated. If I wanted to be chewed out by some pompous asshole with a stick so far up his own ass that he tastes it, I'd have gone to the Fishman district to talk with Arlong. Now shut up, Robocop. Yamato started laughing her ass off at this comment as I finally found out where we needed to go to start walking. On the way, I noticed some girl with brown hair in a bob cut about to fall to grab her midway and place her up without even looking at her. Watch where you step next time. These cracks can be difficult. I walked off with Yamato pulling my head into her cleavage. So should I expect you to be cheating on me with some human babes here? Oh please, I'd rather just stay as far away from most of these people as possible. Reiju. We're heading out. Reiju joined us and we began walking into the school. The directions say when you enter to go down the left hall and up the staircase on the right to the 4th floor. Once there, go to the classroom that is labeled 413. Where the other applicants who are taking the written part of the UF. I bumped into someone to look up and see an ash blonde guy that seemed to resemble someone familiar to me. Get the fuck out of my way, useless extra. The guy seemed to have a lot of anger issues to glare at him and prevent his path from being clear. Didn't you hear me? Move shitrag. Why don't you try asking nicely before saying that? Maybe it'll help you more. The guy was pissed for me to wait and see if he would pull the first punch. Sure enough, his hands began exploding as a way to tell me what kind of quirk he had. Where have I seen that type of quirk before? You know what, you deserve this. He was about to hit me before a girl with green hair came in front of him and diverted the blast upwards. Now, Kachin. We mustn't make such brash actions. You know we both worked quite hard to get to where we are today to waste it on someone that's probably never going to pass the exam. I saw the woman in front of me and immediately went pale knowing her face. Oh shit. TCH. Whatever. Get out of my way now, dumbass. I put my hand down for the guy to leave and the girl to follow behind. Before she left, however, she whispered in my ear something that shook me to my core. Good luck whoever you are, you're gonna need it. She skipped away like nothing happened for me to go even paler and feel like I wanted to vomit. Izuku. You okay? I glanced over to see Yamato confused with Reiju in a similar fashion. You look like you want to throw up. I'm fine. Let's just go and pretend this never happened. That girl. She looked like you. Just pretend it never happened, Reiju. Ignore it and walk away. That's all I'm asking. I was scared and wanted nothing more to pretend that didn't happen, mainly because now I remembered who they were back from before I was a slave. To think I'd find them here of all places and run into them. The girls noticed my shock to make me force myself to try and calm down to avoid any unwanted questions. Just follow your advice and pretend you never saw them. You didn't see those two and they don't know who you are. Just ignore it and leave it for another day. 2 hours later, after finishing the exam that I was given, several of the people given recommendations had begun leaving, with me being one of the last people out. I was stopped, however, by the proctor Midnight, who seemed to wait for me. Izuku Ryugu, if I am correct? Yes. Nezu wished for you to come see the physical exam for the normal examinees. If you and your wives outside would kindly follow me. Midnight opened the door to show Reiju sitting patiently while reading a book, with Yamato taking a nap beside her, snoring kinda loudly. I tapped on Yamato's shoulder for her to panic and wake up, seeing me motion to follow Midnight. While we did, I decided to ask the elephant in the room. So why does Nezu want me to watch the exams? He wanted to have your general opinion on them since having a new face look at the criteria is always a helpful thing. Also, he'd wish to show you who will be your teacher since he said your enrollment here was almost guaranteed. So he wants to show me the ropes of what to expect from the normal entrance exams as well as pick my brain in the form of meeting my teacher. Sounds simple enough. We followed the pro-hero up to an observation room that was atop a fake city that had parts sectioned off. They didn't look natural in design, so I believe they were sectioned for today specifically. Sir. I brought Ryugu. Midnight opened the door to show Nezu and a bunch of teachers sitting in front of a bunch of monitors. Mr. Ryugu. It's a pleasure to see you again. I see you have also brought 2 of your wives. They wanted to see the school and they agreed to not hinder anyone during the exams. That isn't a problem, is it? Of course not. Also, the man over there with the scruff on his face will be your homeroom teacher for the first year of UA. His name is Shota Aizawa. The man named Aizawa stared at me for a moment before I sat down nearby. To the side of me, a guy with bulk and a notable amount of scars stared at me for a moment, somewhat irritated. This is a school for heroes, not for rich kids that are given a free ride. What is Nezu thinking? You honestly think that I'm given a free ride? I didn't bother looking at the man as he glared down at me. You didn't have to handle the entrance exams in a combat-based scenario. In normal terms, we would have never allowed you to even get into the hero course in that aspect. Just what type of quirk do you have that allows that? None. I spoke up for this to surprise everyone. I was born quirkless and all my power is given to me because of my dedication and training. Now I'm curious how you got in here. A blonde skeleton man spoke with the scar man still irritating me. Why do we have a quirkless person taking up a slot as a student in this course? I don't know. Why do we have a stuck-up asshole taking up a slot as a teacher in this course? Yamato started to snicker at this for the man to not take this kindly. Things were about to escalate if a guy with prosthetic legs tried to calm us down. Vlad King. That's enough. I'm sure that Nezu has a perfectly logical explanation for this. This violates all normal means of enrolling. If we throw out our normal means of putting students into the school, then what is the point of having the entrance exams? I was getting tired of hearing this guy's mouth to get an idea. How about this? If I can knock you out without touching you, you'll back off. If I can't, then I'll deny my enrollment in the school. Seems fair. Vlad King stared at me a moment before nodding. So what are you going to do? Scare me or something? He stopped when I glared at him and activated Conqueror's Hockey to have him go pale before passing out where he sat. Holy crap. What did I just walk into? I glanced over to see some guy with blonde hair that made him look like a stupid ghetto biker walk in. Vlad was trying to mess with Ryugu here and he showed off some of his power. Simply put, it was kinda interesting to watch. Aizawa started to smile at this before our attention went to the exams that had started mere seconds ago. I was informed as it went on what was happening with the examinees needing to take out a specific amount of robots in the allotted time span, with each being worth some form of point value between 1 to 3. It didn't matter how you defeated or deactivated the robots, all you had to do was make them unable to fight and the points are yours. To be honest, it seemed kinda too power biased if you asked me. Not everyone has physical strength, but I can see why they needed to do this since heroism is very physical. So quick question. Is destroying robots the only way that they can collect points here? Reiju asked for an older woman to shake her head no. There's hero points as well. Depending on the way you act, you have an additional set of points given by us if you do things that are heroic in nature. This is a school for heroes, so it's only fair we give points to those that act on those heroic aspects. I started to glance at what some of the contestants were doing to see the glasses guy from earlier with engines popping out of his calves attack and destroy some robots. He might be rude and uptight, but he knows how to fight. I glanced at another to see Izumi and Bakugo fighting in a similar method of attracting the robots and destroying them all at once by explosion or melting the metal by extreme heat. That one girl has a powerful fire quirk for sure. There's also something graceful about how she uses it, almost as if she was born with the talent to fight like that. The Ash Blonde is also good. He's smart in how he's fighting and controls the explosions. It's somewhat amazing how he doesn't cause as much damage as you'd expect. I felt sick to my stomach watching them look and see the girl with brown hair from before floating robots up putting her fingertips together to drop and destroy them. Though I didn't care for people, I did find the quirk somewhat useful. You know, that quirk is pretty handy for a lot of things. I wonder what the limit she has on it is. I glanced over to see Nezu push a button to feel a bit of a shake and turn to Aizawa. What does that button do? It releases a 0 pointer. To make it simple, it's a monstrous robot that gives you 0 points for taking out since it's useless to try. The monitors showed a giant robot that was as large as a sea king to surprise me. Not bad. No wonder they say it's pointless to try. Help. I noticed the girl from before with her leg trapped by some debris and beginning to panic. All around her, people began leaving as quickly as possible with nobody stopping to help. This is unfortunately the truth about the world. When faced with overwhelming odds, humans will ignore others and save themselves. This is sickening. I watched as the robot continued to move with it not stopping. Someone's gonna stop it and save her, right? I glanced around the room for nobody to do anything and some looked rather sad for Aizawa to speak up. Not another one. Now realizing that she was going to die, I couldn't sit down and watch this anymore to immediately storm out of the window and break it open. What the? Reiju. Reiju activated her equipment to allow me to go flying towards the robot to land right near the rubble the girl was stuck under. Stay still. I coated my hand with hockey to turn it pitch black and destroyed the debris to free her. Look out. The girl shouted for me to look above to pull a dagger I had on hand out. Fishman swordsmanship. I cut upwards with the moisture in the air slicing the foot of the mechanical monster off. Rising current slash. Parts of the robot fell off beside us with the robot falling to the side. I placed my dagger back in its holster before looking down at the girl. Thank you for saving me. I walked away not wanting to answer before seeing the guy that had glasses dumbfounded. He began talking to himself as he saw what happened. This was a test, of course. If it was real, I would've. This was a way to show real heroism. You didn't react when someone needed help, so don't give me the crap it wasn't real. If you can't produce the same effects in a controlled situation like this, how are you going to do that in a situation where you need to? I walked away not wanting to hear any more before returning to the observation room and picking up Reiju and Yamato to make the trip back to Fishman Island. In order to help his people, Izuku had created several treaties with existing powers. In a way to help get the name of the Ryugu kingdom on discussion tables, he had decided to take the UA entrance exams. Here, he met several people with one that seemed to be very similar to him and concern him. In addition, Izuku showed his own personal abilities by defeating a gigantic robot on his own and assisting another examinee who was in peril. Shirley Pav. A month had passed since Izuku's visit up to the surface for the entrance exams, with him seeming strange since he came back. I had asked Yamato and Reiju what had happened, but they said they only knew it's about someone that looked like him. Not knowing much else, I had gone for some advice from unfortunately one of the only people that I could at this time. Why should I care what your stupid human boyfriend has in his past? People like him should just drop dead. Sai Arlong. Please help me. I want to help make sure Izuku isn't in a bad state of mind during his last month here. I understand you don't like him, but at least help me think of why he might. Like I give a damn if some human is in a bad mood. As far as I'm concerned, he deserves to be in a rotten mood for thinking he can live among us fishmen. We are the superior race and he's nothing but a lowly. Arlong. I glared at my brother with malice to stop him. If you insult Izuku one last time, I will personally make sure you suffer the consequences. Growing up, Arlong learned two things that he should never do. One is to try and pick a fight with the Ryugu family, and two, never anger me. Now. We don't need to get violent here. Yeah. Arlong was just playing. He would never try and anger the woman that strikes fear in everyone in his crew. His crewmates tried to calm us down before Arlong began walking away. The human's probably uneasy about something and scared. If you show him you're supportive, then maybe he'll be less depressed. That was strangely helpful. So how do I do that? I don't know. You're the one that prefers to lay under a human. You figure it out. I never slept with Izuku. Yet, good. I'd rather you not sully our family's blood with that cretin human soiling you. I couldn't handle this anymore to leave the Fishman district knowing he had given me next to nothing as help. Swimming back to the kingdom, I ran into Praline, who seemed to be grabbing some things from the seafloor. Shirley. What a pleasant surprise. Praline, what are you doing out here? I thought that I could help make Izuku a little happier by giving him a nice meal. You know, something that'll give him a smile on his face. He's been so down lately that I wanted to find the best way to his heart. You know what they say about men and their stomachs. Best way to a man's heart is to his stomach. Something tells me that this isn't going to be the best way to do this. So what are you doing here? It's strange to see you come out to the Fishman district. I was talking to my brother hopefully to find a way to help Izuku. Didn't exactly go so well. I motioned towards the palace for Praline to follow me as we spoke and swam. So what's going on with Izuku? Not really. I've seen Izuku at his worst and well. I'm scared he may return to that. It's not a pretty sight. What's his worst like? I avoided staring at her to answer. You don't want to know. It's not pretty and you'd wish you would have never seen it nor ever want to see it again. I see. Praline stopped for a moment to make me turn and face her. Shyly. Have you ever done it with Izuku yet? What? You think I'm some kind of hussy that would just... Not saying that. I'm just asking to see how far you've gone with him. I turned away while putting my fingertips together, somewhat ashamed of overreacting. Well, we've fooled around, but nothing penetrative. Oh. So you know what he's packing down there, huh? Praline began nudging my shoulder for it to irritate me now. Tell me, are we dealing with a minnow or a large base down there? Come on. I know you'd have at least felt the outline to know where he stands. I couldn't stand hearing this to pull away and ask what she meant by this. Just where is this going? Well, Izuku is leaving the island and we won't get an answer on if we're going to be able to go above with him yet, so I was thinking maybe show him you're still passionate about him. Think about it. A night of love and warm embrace with the woman you love. Deflowering her and marking her in a way no man can ever again. Leaving on that sweet notion knowing that the person you love most in the world forever is committed to you. That might help out far more than anything. You know, making sure he understands people are on his side and everything. I thought about it for a moment and what Arlong said about supporting Izuku. If he knows I'm still willing to stand by him then. I guess I can see about that. We both close tomorrow and there's a back room where I'd sleep on occasions if I closed and opened. There you go. How about you and him have a little fun and I'll make sure Ulti doesn't try and kill you for trying to have a night to yourselves. Thanks. I guess. She gave me a thumbs up somewhat thinking I'm going to regret this when all is said and done. The next evening, Izuku Pav. The end of the day finally came for me and Shirley with things being somewhat off for a while with me. Honestly, half of it was most likely because I found her at UA and was unable to get over it. Izuku. Is anything troubling you? Shirley looked at me for me to try and brush it off. Izuku. Look at me in the eyes. If something is bothering you, please say it. I may not be able to comprehend what you're going through right now, but I want you to know that no matter what, I'm here for you. I hated when she could see right through me. No matter what, Shirley could always tell when I was holding something or angry about something even when I hid it well. I saw someone up above that I wished I'd never see again. I can't go into detail, but they hurt me in ways I can never forgive them. I see. Out of nowhere, Shirley grabbed my head and pulled it into her chest to make me go beet red. Shar? It's okay. Tonight's a special night. Tonight, I'm going to help show you no matter where you go, I will always be by your side. Izuku. I love you and I want you to know that I'll always be there if you need someone. Shirley pulled my head out of her chest to kiss me and hold me close. Sometimes I forget how amazing Shar is and how lucky I am to have her beside me. We adjusted our sitting to have her sit on my lap as we enjoyed the moment together before parting from the kiss. We sat in the booth for a solid minute before speaking. When do you leave? In about 2 weeks. I see. Shirley held onto my shirt to show she wasn't happy about this, but didn't want to express her opinion. Izuku. Before you leave, I have a selfish request. I listened carefully to her as she looked at me face to face. I want there to be no regrets or lingering pains while you and I are separate. So for tonight, I wish for you to claim me as yours. Excuse me? In the back of this cafe, I'd like you to spend the night with me there and mark me as your own. Giving you no lingering regrets before you leave me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Shirley was asking me to. Okay. I stood up and carried her to the back. Tonight, you and I are going to consummate our love to show there is not anything left that has to be said when I leave. The next morning, Izuku Pav. I began waking up to a similar weight on my body, but lighter. I glanced down to see Shirley hugging my chest with only bed sheets over her. Oh yeah. We did it last night. Shirley started to rustle around a little to open her eyes and show me her half-conscious face. Morning Shire. Had fun last night? MNN. Somewhat. I kinda forgot almost everything after going into a blood frenzy. Is this after you smelled the blood of your hymen being torn or after you took a bite out of my collarbone? Remembering what she did, Shirley went for my neck to see how bad she bit me to make sure it wasn't serious. It only punctured the skin, don't worry. Sorry. I wasn't in my right mind. I don't blame you. It was a fun night if anything. Shirley immediately blushed at this before moving off of my chest. We should probably get ready. The doors will open soon and, why can't I feel my legs? It's either the fact you rode me with no remorse or the fact you crammed me inside both your holes. Knowing what happened somewhat now, she went pale. Madam Shirley. I saw a light on in here and wanted to ask you what today. One of the mermaids at the cafe came in to see both of us naked and froze for a sec. Okay. I'll come back. When you're both done. She shut the door for us to take this as a clear sign we need to get ready for the day. So how pissed do you think Ulti is going to be knowing we didn't come home just to do this? Judging by the fact she's crazy about married life, she might try to kill us when we get back. The fact you're so calm about that scares me. I turned to the side of the bed to find my clothes and started going about the day with Shirley. As Izuku works to join Ua in hopes to create equal relationships with his people, he is faced with a mental hurdle that he had difficulty facing. In hopes to help him and avoid him leaving the kingdom with regrets, Shirley devised an attempt for her to accept any of his personal turmoil and as such, created an unforgettable evening for the young prince. Now with his heart and mind at ease, Izuku prepares for the next part of his attempt to join humanity in the Ryugu kingdom. Izuku Pav. The day had finally come for me to begin leaving home. To say it was saddening was an understatement. I spent most of my life on this island and met so many different people from it. I felt horrible leaving, but everyone knew it was for the best of the people. As such I had to do things right before leaving. The first thing was without a doubt seeing Shirahoshi and my brothers one last time. We all decided to meet together in Shirahoshi's room with her being emotional for leaving. Wah, brother. Please don't go. She kept crying and soaking me with her tears as Momboshi started to look like he wanted to cry too. So, how long do you think it'll be until you return? I can't say. I'll try to return when I get a notable amount of time off. This whole thing is to help our people. But why do you have to go, Rimi? Ryuboshi asked for me to try and explain it the best I can. Let's say hypothetically, we have all the signatures and the world government allows us to relocate Fishman Island above ground. Do you think humans will be as forthcoming as they've been with us on the ocean floor? I see. So you are trying to help push people to understand the fishmen and merfolk of this kingdom and lightening the burden on our people when the time to go up finally comes. An admirable goal, but it still is sad knowing you have to leave. I'm with you there, Fukaboshi. The last thing I want to do is leave this island. Then why not do the same thing here? Shirahoshi asked through her tears for me to pat her fin. Trust me when I say I'd much rather do everything I am doing here, but I just can't. Sometimes, we need to do things we really don't like in exchange for the greater good. This comment didn't go well with Shirahoshi since she still wanted to cry. Don't worry. I asked the guards to give you a transponder snail and the connection to mine in case you ever want to talk to me again. Just try and make sure it isn't during school days. This seemed to lighten Shirahoshi's mood for a timer to go off for us. Sorry to cut the mambo short, but we're out of time. We all started to leave before I turned back to Shirahoshi for a moment. I promise that I'll return, and when I do, I'll make sure to tell you all about the things I saw. Promise. Shirahoshi put out her pinky for me and our brothers to do the same. I promise. An axe began coming into the area for me to jump up and grab the blade with my hands. The shock of it came to all of us as Shirahoshi narrowly missed having it stab her in her heart. Sorry, but we really need to leave now. My brothers and I left quickly so another axe or something couldn't be thrown and hit Shirahoshi. Another one came for me to punch and destroy it with hockey with the recent attack enraging me. Sorry to cut our talks short, brothers, but I have a few others I need to say goodbye to in the next few hours. We understand. Thank you for spending some time talking with us. Fukaboshi smiled at me for it to feel comforting knowing my family understands me. I began walking to the Grand Hall to speak with the king to see Ulti and Yamato at it again for some reason. That last onagiri was mine. Didn't have your name on it. The two attacked with immense power for everyone to just sit and watch. So what's the argument about today? Yamato had her last onigiri stolen by Ulti and now she's pissed off. Praline pointed this out as everyone simply watched this unfold. Looking down at me, King Neptune gained my attention to make sure I was ready. Do you have all your belongings packed, my son? Yes, father. Everything is loaded up and on our ship, ready to set sail this afternoon. That is good to hear. However, there is something I'd like to give you in exchange for all your dedication. The Minister of the Right came out with a package for me to take it and open it up. When I saw the contents, I noticed it was a rather nice katana. This katana was forged by our greatest smiths with some of the most powerful ores that were on the ocean floor embedded into the mix. The laces and handleguard were created with our palace's image in mind and the fabric of the royal family's garments. When you draw the blade and use it in battle, know you have the heart and love of every fishman and merfolk in this kingdom backing you. I sheathed the blade and bowed at my father. You are far too kind, sir. This weapon is wasted on me. Do not worry. I know you are doing us a great deal and I wish to show everyone in the kingdom's gratitude by this. Then I shall use it and never forget the commitment of the people and yourself, your majesty. I could feel everyone smile at me before noticing the time. I need to leave, sir. I have a few more stops I must visit. Understandable. Did the school give you a time when you were able to bring your wives above ground? They said that the dorm for us will be ready after the sports festival, which takes place a little over 2 weeks into the school year. Very well, then we shall treat them no different than family. Thank you. I shall take my leave then. I left the hall shortly after this with headbutting both Ulti and Yamato to get them to stop and cool their heads. My next stop after completing this was to the Mermaid Cafe to give my farewells to Shirley. At the Mermaid Cafe, upon arrival at the cafe, I was met with the early morning crew setting up for the morning lunch rush. Izuku, it's nice to see you. Some of the girls came over to greet me with Shirley in the back smiling. I thought you were heading out today. I am, but I had a few goodbyes I had to take care of before I did with you on the list. She smiled with the girls going to handle business somewhere else in the restaurant. Yue said you'll be able to come up in a few weeks. I'm trying to see if they'll allow you all to head up during the sports festival to see it in action up close and personal. Sounds nice. What about everyone else? How did they take the news that they were staying here for now? Ulti threatened to bash my skull in. Yamato was pissed, Carrot and Wanda were depressed about it. Reiju didn't seem to have a problem and Praline began smothering me at the statement saying something about wanting all the affection she could get before I leave. So as expected then. Yeah, we both laughed a little before the silence came over. So where are you off to next? The sea forest. If I'm leaving the island, I need to do it right and let her know. Shirley understood to kiss my lips for a huge blush to be on my face. Oh, Madam Shirley, so bold. We turned around to see most of the girls listening in the corner to get a death glare from me and Shirley. They hid themselves for us to continue. You're a nice person, Izuku. I know one day you'll do great things for this kingdom's people. Just keep your mind clear and focused on what you have to do and do not fall to your anger while you're above. I promise. Shirley raised an eyebrow at me before pinching my ear. I mean it. You should look at this and be happy with what's happening. Not everyone gets your chance. Ow, ow. I swear. Just let go of my ear. She let go of my ear for me to back away and rub it. I hope we can see each other soon. Goodbye for now, Shire. Safe travels, Izuku. I gave Sharky one last kiss before heading out of the cafe, still somewhat sad that I had to leave, but happy knowing it wasn't for long. First stop done. Now to the sea forest. At the sea forest. Upon arrival at the edge of the kingdom, I started walking the path to see the resting place of many ships and members of the kingdom alike. It's strange really. No matter what shape the ships are in, the rubble or full ship always ends up on the sea forest grounds when people don't follow the proper channels inside. Somewhat sad to the people, but more to those that have this as their resting place. Upon reaching a mausoleum for the royal family, I found the plaque for my mother. Hey Mom. Sorry I haven't been around lately. I've been trying to do some important things for our people. I sat down in front of the stone grave marker to lighten my heart a little, speaking to my mother and talking about what happened. Shirahoshi's still stuck in the tower, but you'd love to see her now. She's grown to be so beautiful. And large. You couldn't ask for such a kinder daughter than her. So quick to be emotional about even the simplest little things. So passionate about what she thinks is needed to be and what isn't. Sigh, I wish you could see the type of woman she's becoming. It sometimes breaks my heart seeing so much of you in Shirahoshi. I tried to switch to happier news to talk about Shirley and the girls. I forgot to mention, I'm engaged to Shirley. Thanks to a little ordeal with some other groups in the world. I'm also engaged to a mermaid called Praline, a hard-headed woman Ulti, Yamato who's kinda happy-go-lucky, Reiju who's a restrained and kinda passionate woman, a caring older sister type minx called Wanda, and Carrot who's a rabbit minx who always seems to smile. It stinks though that I can't see them for a while because of the fact I'm going up above the ocean to act as an ambassador for our nation to have our people go to school above the sea, but I'm sure you enjoy the fact I'm trying to help the people by giving them the tools to succeed while Fukaboshi, Ryuboshi and Momboshi collect the signatures from the kingdom's people for the World Summit meeting. I wanted to cry seeing my hands and remembering what happened that day 10 years ago. I still haven't forgotten my commitment. I won't kill or harm fishmen or merfolk. I know you'd rather me not harm anyone at all, but there are things that need to be done. I hope you understand that. Remembering something I had packed, I went into a bag I had on me to pull out a set of sea lilies. I remember how you loved the look of these flowers when they were in bloom, so I made sure to get a few for you. I placed the flowers in front of Mom's headstone and began getting up. I'm sorry to cut this short, but I need to start heading back to the palace to get some of my final things. I'll try and visit again when I can return. I picked up my bag and began walking out of the forest. When I did though, I gave one last look back to Mom's grave and smiled with a small tear in my eye. Rest in peace knowing we're okay, Mother. I promise I'll make things right one day. 2 hours later the time finally came with the Sun Pirates agreeing to bring me up to port. As a form of thanking me, almost the entire kingdom came out to see me off with them cheering as if I'm some kind of hero or something. Good luck, Izuku. We know you'll do great. Show the world what Fishman Island can do. The shouts and cheers were uneasy with the royal guards even lining up and saluting me off. To the side, I saw my father smiling at me with my fiancés beside him. It was safe to assume Ulti was trying something since she was tied up and glaring down Reiju and Shirley who were holding the metal chains around her. We're about to head off. Jinbei spoke up for me to smile at the people and wave goodbye to the people I've known for years. When we reached the exterior bubble, we started to head out into the open sea with the Fishman district below us. Seeing the people down below made my resolution increase before going towards the stairs to the lower decks. Jinbei, warn me when we start to reach the surface please. I'm going to lay down for now. Understood. I went down to a cabin to relax and start to nod off as the motions of rising up to the surface rocked the boat around me. Watch out world, because Izuku is coming. In order to help create equality for the people of Fishman Island, Izuku decides to join a collage up above the ocean floor to establish kind relations. After a gargantuan feat at the entrance exams, Izuku gives his heartfelt goodbyes to his friends and loved ones. Upon his departure, however, the members of Fishman Island all give their fond farewells and blessings for a brighter future for both them and Izuku. Now, Izuku will face the world outside of the bubble he's lived a majority of his life in once more in hopes to free his own people from their undersea prison. Izuku Pav. After being brought to port by Jinbei, I gave my final farewells to him and the rest of the Sun Pirates and began my journey to the college. Upon arrival, I was able to place the last of my things in a pile of boxes going to my room and heading off to the school. Once inside, I was given a classroom to go to with the halls near it being quiet. If I remember correctly, Class A was this room. I stood in front of a door that towered over me mildly impressed. I guess the rodent prepared for every possibility. Fair enough. I went to open the door with the sound of someone shouting coming from inside. Get your feet off that desk this instant. It is an insult to those that sat there before us and those that have made the desk. The sound of the Robocop spoke up for me to open the door and see him arguing with the ash-blonde idiot from the entrance exam. Great. I have 2 jackasses in my class, so where'd you get that stick up your ass? Did you have it shoved up in your old school or were you born with it? We are getting off on the wrong start. My name is Tenya Iida from Same. Oh, so you're a fucking elitist. I'm going to enjoy kicking your ass. He started to laugh with Robocop now having some problems with it. I ignored them and went for my seat that was sadly behind the bastard egging on Robocop. The two noticed me for the blue-haired ass to speak up. Hello. Don't care. Just let me sit down so I can relax after spending a frigging 5-hour boat trip here. I sat down and relaxed for a few moments until a guy behind me started staring back at some girl with black hair in a ponytail. So are you seriously at least 19 or are you in the wrong school and supposed to be in a kindergarten? Everyone started laughing with me rolling my eyes at this. Hey, don't blow my chance with a girl that has massive tits like. How oblivious of you to think you even have a chance. I can tell you right now that you're bothering her, so take the hint, turn around, and shut the fuck up. I opened my eyes while using observation hockey to tell the shrimp's unwanted stares made the girl uncomfortable before sensing another person to come up to me. Whoever you are, I'm not interested in talking. I just wanted to thank you for what you did in the exams. I hope you didn't get into any trouble for helping me. Then again, you're here so that should mean you didn't have a problem passing. I opened my eyes to see the brunette from the entrance exams to shut my eyes again. We didn't get the chance to formally meet, did we? I'm Ochako Uraraka. What's yours? Izuku Ryugu. I spoke my name for this to hopefully push her away before everyone around started to circle around. You mean you're the prince guy from Fishman Island that's taking the hero course? Why don't you have fins or anything if you're from Fishman Island? Any hot mermaid girls you can hook us up with? I tried to ignore everyone with our teacher waiting in some kind of weird caterpillar sleeping bag keeping to himself. He didn't seem to have a problem with these questions to force me to answer. Yes. I'm adopted and human. Also, I would rather show you to the mermen to have them kick your asses. Also, how long are you going to be staying there without saying anything? So you found me out, huh? Aizawa spoke up for us to turn and see him in the corner of the room before unzipping his sleeping bag to walk out. Hello everyone, I'm Shota Aizawa. For the next 3 years, I'll be your homeroom teacher. He pulled out 20 PE uniforms from his sleeping bag before placing them on the podium. Change into these and meet me outside in 5. I did as he asked to walk over and grab one of the uniforms with some of the few behind me doing the same immediately. I went towards a changing room to place the uniform on and headed out towards the field. In the changing room as I was changing, one of the guys with red hair was able to get a decent look at my back to comment on it. Dude, is that a tattoo on your back? So manly. It's a burn. I didn't even turn to meet his attention with some of the guys looking at my back to notice the Sun Pirate's crest. Isn't that a pirate group's flag? Why is it burned on your back? I shut the locker and began walking out to the field. It's none of your business, so keep out of it. As I walked out to the field, I was met by Aizawa and noticed I was the first one there. Since we had time, the teacher gave a little small talk with me. So, what's with the bandages on your arms? Did you get hurt before the exams or something? They hide burns that nobody will understand here why I have. The other students finally came with the hobo-looking man finally explaining what we're doing. Today we'll be doing quirk apprehension tests. But sir, what about orientation? The brunette from before asked. This school allows its teachers to follow their own criteria and annul out anything they think is unnecessary that isn't required and add in. In short, I can teach my class however I want. Seems to be kinda dumb if you ask me. Ryugu. Aizawa tossed me a ball for some reason before continuing to ask a question. What's your farthest throw without any abilities? About 79.5 meters. Use what you know this time. Behind me is a circle. All you gotta do is throw the ball in it. I don't care what else you do, all you need is to remain in the circle. I shrugged it off before going to the circle. I thought of the best way to handle this being to use hockey and then add some height with Fishman karate after. I coated my hand with armament hockey to turn it black with everyone watching in surprise. Is that a quirk? No, Ryugu is a master of what's called hockey. It enhances his strength, reaction time and willpower. Since quirks were brought into the picture, hockey users have been showing up less and less due to the element of how to master it being extremely difficult. In short, the results you'll see right now are from blood, sweat and tears of hard work. I threw the ball as far as I could to get a little bit of wind pressure with it. Before I left the circle though, I aimed with my fist with the moisture in the air circling around it. What's he doing now? Fishman karate. A martial art that involves the moisture in the air and inside people. Another technique that is rare and only able to succeed as much by fishmen. Arabesque brick fist. I sent the shockwave towards the ball for its back end to indent slightly before making a second shockwave from the incident. Turning back, Izawa gave me a score of 967 meters for everyone to be in awe. You all will be doing 6 tests today. Each will consist of tests you do in your high schools but with quirks this time. The current curriculum of normal schools does not understand the drawback of hindering students by withholding everyone to do their best to make things balanced. So in short, we're doing tests to see how strong our quirks are. This could be fun. A pink-skinned girl said this for my hockey to tell me Izawa found this annoying. Fun, you say? Then how about this for fun? The person who gets last will be deemed to have no potential and be expelled today on the spot. Everyone panicked as I began returning to the group with the Uraraka girl objecting to this. You can't kick someone out of here on the first day. That isn't fair. You honestly think this is unfair? What about natural disasters? Villains attacking humans for no reason, celestial dragons doing as they please with no regards to laws. Wouldn't you think those are unfair since they happen to people that don't deserve it? The world is full of unfairness. This is why we have a motto of going beyond, plus ultra. The tension around us was increasing for me to tell everyone now was scared except for a few about failing and getting expelled. At least I knew that one human here understood that life isn't fair. After the tests, as the tests began to go underway, I was able to get a decent score on most. Among them, there were about 2 that I excelled at the most. The first was a grip test. Thanks to my armament hockey, I was able to grip the machine hard enough to break it. This shocked everyone, with the ash blonde getting more pissed off. The second test I succeeded in and stood out was the long distance. Thanks to my constant training, my stamina's through the roof, with this being no different than a normal workout. The other tests I may not have gotten first, but I was able to remain in the top 5 for the most part to avoid any issues. For the most part, you all did well. Before I put up the scores above me, which you all should have a decent idea where you're placed, I'd like to say this. There's no expulsion. It was a logical ruse in order to have you all work as hard as you can to show what you can do in these tests. Everyone was shocked except for the girl with the ponytail to look at us. Sorry. I would have said something if I knew you all thought that was true. Did you honestly think he had the ability to expel people on the first day? He's lying. I spoke up for the ash blonde to snarl at me. What? Are you psychic now because of that stupid fancy power? No, I'm saying he had full intentions to expel someone and only didn't because he saw that we had potential to some degree. Ryugu's right. Izawa placed the scores behind him, with me being at about 3rd place behind some other students that took the recommendation test. Syllabuses are in the classroom. You're all free also to go to your dorms and unpack. Tomorrow we officially start hero training, so be prepared. Izawa walked away with me doing the same, not wanting small talk. Oi, Deku. I stopped hearing my crappy childhood nickname from before I was a slave for it to anger me. I should have known it was you. Last I heard from Izumi, you were some piece of shit noble's little slave. Guess you survived. He started laughing with my anger now being in the red. Then again, you were always useless even without a quirk. At least there was some satisfaction with you being sold off to a world noble. I didn't even let him finish his sentence for me to punch him and be sent flying. Everyone looked in horror as I glared the bastard down in rage. You think you're just so smart, Bakugo. You don't even understand the hell I went through. People like you make me sick. Even being in your general presence is insufferable. You don't know what I went through, so you have no right to even speak of what you think is good or bad. I walked towards the school with some of the other classmates getting in my way. Get out of my way now before you're punched like that asshole. Most backed off with fear of me going for them next for some of the girls in the class to speak up. He just one-shotted someone with a single punch. That's insane. Did Bakugo just say world noble? Are they fancy people or something? That's gotta be a lie. If Ryugu was a slave, how did he get to be a prince? I ignored these and wanted nothing more than to walk away from them. On my way in, I noticed Mr. Izawa standing to the side. Are you going to punish me for what I did? No, to be honest, I was able to look at your file and realized there are a lot of personal problems. This is half the reason I swapped Koda and Midoriya. If anything, you won't have to deal with her yet. Sai says she became a member of the hero course too. That's just swell. I started to walk away with Izawa saying one final thing to me. I know it would be difficult, but try to make friends with your classmates. The goal of you being here is to show that members of Fishman Island can live with humans peacefully. I didn't respond as I walked away, remembering everything humanity has done to me. I can never be friends with humans. Not after everything that's happened. In order to help establish equality for the people of Fishman Island, Izuku entered into a college above the sea. On his first day, Izuku was soon reunited with a former companion from his childhood, Bakugo. Their reunion was quickly turned malicious as Bakugo tried to instill back into Izuku the status quo of where he was before. Now with his abilities on full display, Izuku's lengthened battle for him and his people begins. Dreamscape, Izuku Pav. I began seeing a similar dream that I had normally seen as a child. It was the day all those years ago. Sold. For 2 million berries. Why would you even buy such a pathetic little child? It doesn't even have a quirk. I looked into the area outside of an open stage. As I looked at the people to see them, they did not look at me as a person. They saw me as just something. Mom. Dad. Izumi. I turned to my family with the blonde woman that was my mother holding a blank expression towards me. How pathetic. Even when we sell off the defect of that woman, he's just as useless as he was. Izumi. I think we'll play a little in Sabodi Park after this with the money we get. My father commented to Izumi for her to smile. She didn't even see a problem with what was happening. Mom. Dad. I tried to go back to them, but was pulled back by a man who had a sickening smile on him with a branding tool. I tried to escape as quickly as I could. However, the man held the hot piece of metal up before slamming it down directly towards my back. I avert my eyes as the sheer feeling of the metal implants into my back and forces me to let out a blood-curdling scream. Back in reality. I wake up from my nightmare in a cold sweat, panting from the sudden shock and remembrance of that day. The day my life went from crappy to hell in a matter of moments. I couldn't take the image as I tried to shake it off and walk downstairs. Going right to the kitchen, I dunked my head in the sink to turn it on and drink from the water coming down. Not caring for the fact my head was wet from it, I tried to focus mainly on getting as much fluids in me to avoid the memory of the dream resurface. Is someone in here? I overheard someone from the girl's side come down towards the kitchen to see me with my head in the water. Dude? You okay? I pulled my head out of the water while panting for air. Pant, I'm fine. Looking at the girl, I noticed she was the one with aux cords for earlobes. Jiru, right? Yeah. You sure you're okay? You look like you saw a ghost or something. It's not important. What are you doing up right now? I could ask you the same thing. It's 1 in the morning and you're dunking your head in water. I gave her that one to grab some paper towels and wipe off my face. Hey, Ryugu. What's with the burns on your hands and back? I glanced down to remember I went to bed without a shirt or with my bandages for my hands on. They don't matter to you. I walked off trying to regain what composure I lost before having my hand grabbed. What do you want? Bakugo earlier today said something about you being a slave. I'm not gonna judge you if you were or weren't, but I want to know if he was actually telling us the truth. I stayed silent with this said before pulling my hand away to walk back upstairs. As I did, I answered this question. Whether I am or not isn't the issue here. The thing that you should know is to walk away from this since it doesn't matter. I exited the common area trying to relax myself and go back to sleep. As I did though, I felt another person awake for some reason on the girl's side with observation hockey to ignore it and go into my room. The next day, the second day of school, finally came with things being normal for the most part. The morning classes seemed to be really no different than if I was listening to the stuff the minister of the left was teaching me. Surprisingly, I was keeping track rather well given I've never listened to human classes and had secondhand knowledge on what is taught by what Jinbei gave. Right now, we were all waiting for the first heroics class to be started. I am coming through the door like a hero. Immediately, some weird-ass blonde idiot came through the door wearing a pair of spandex that were ridiculously small on him. Awesome. It's All Might. He's in his Silver Age costume too. All Might. If I remember, he's the #1 hero in Japan if I'm not mistaken. What's someone like that doing in a school like this? Isn't that just telling people that want to do harm where you can and can't attack, since all you'd have to do is attack areas that aren't on his way to work? I thought about this as the pro hero started explaining what we were going to do today. Heroics 101. The class that turns wannabe heroes like yourselves into the pros of tomorrow. As such, your first class will be Battle training. He pulled out a flashcard that said this from some giant box for everyone to get excited for some reason. And what hero would be complete without a costume? Adding to his emphasizing of what he was saying, All Might pressed a button to have 20 briefcases come out of the wall. Put these on and meet me down at ground beta on the double. Finally he stopped talking. I got up to grab the costume I requested to put in and walked out of the room with everyone acting like a bunch of idiots. These people are so easily excitable. Wait till they see chaos firsthand and most of them will have the smile on their faces pulled off. At ground beta, third person POV. Not wasting time lingering and knowing every second is precious, Izuku changed and walked down to the training field to be met by All Might. Impeccable timing, young Ryugu. Then again, I shouldn't expect any less from a well-respected member of the royal family. Let's keep things simple here. I'm only joining this school to help my people. I have zero interest in human interaction that is outside of that. Yet you're also a human. By whose standards? Izuku's comment surprised All Might as the rest of the class came out to encircle the pro. He began explaining what they were going to do today. For the most part, they were doing team exercises of 2 versus 2. One team was the heroes trying to defeat the other team and secure a bomb, while the other was doing the same as the villain team wanting a timer to go out. As this happened, the groups were drawn by lots with Izuku going first paired with the girl Ochako from the entrance exams as the heroes. Meanwhile, their opponents as the villain team would be Bakugo and Iida. Villain team has 5 minutes to prepare. After that, the hero team will head in and begin the training simulation. Bakugo and Iida started to walk in with the rest of the class not partaking going down below ground. Meanwhile, Izuku and Ochako sat outside reading over the blueprints they were given. Do they expect us to memorize all this? Ochako asked as she saw Izuku glance at the blueprints but not pay much attention. Hey, Ryugu. Can I ask you a question? What is it? Well, what happened last night with you? This comment made the green-haired man glance at her with an eyebrow raised. I didn't learn about this from anyone but since I was a kid, I was able to hear the thoughts and find out the emotions that people had. It's kinda weird and I don't know how I can do it. To make a long story short, I overheard your voice last night and you seemed really scared, terrified even. Izuku shuts his eyes before opening and shows his eyes having a red tint on them. So in short, you're gifted with observation haki. Observation haki? In short, haki is a technique that is very powerful, but rarely used anymore by humans after the birth of quirks. Aizawa most likely explained the basics of that to you all if I'm not mistaken. Basically, haki can increase your defensive and offensive skills, sense things others can't and or predict someone's attack, or overwhelm people to knock them out. Some people are born though with a natural talent like this, but it's rare if you find this since it would mean your body was so naturally attuned to it that one of the three is second nature. So, I have a special talent for this. You can say that. To make things simple in this, you just started at a higher level than others and could still be overwhelmed if you face someone that worked hard to get farther than you. Hero team can now enter. Ochako was about to enter, but was stopped by Izuku for a moment. You remember what I told you about haki allowing someone to see things normal people can't? Yeah. Well, I have a form of it that allows me to see where both Bakugo and Iida are. They're on the 4th floor. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over to that fire escape and get into the building on the 4th floor. Wait outside the room that has Iida in it and we'll both take him on. What about Bakugo? He's leaving on his own. My guess is, he's gonna think I'm a dumbass that can't think of a counter strategy to have us come in on the 1st floor only. I have a personal issue against him, so I'll take him on alone. Izuku walks into the building with Ochako realizing she has next to on information on Izuku. Hey, what's your quirk? He pulled out his katana from his sheath before answering, I don't have one. Walking down the hall, Izuku kept his eyes closed while seeing the entire building in his mind through an outline. Once he was near the center, the green-haired man stopped and looked up. Time to show you just who's the real weakling. Izuku gripped his blade and made a single slash up above. Fishman swordsmanship. Flowing current slash. The cut didn't even get to the roof. However, it made a slash to destroy the foundation to the ceiling into the next floor to drop Bakugo onto the ground. Sheathing his blade, Izuku smirked at the ash blonde. Fancy meeting you here, bastard. We've got some unfinished business that we gotta deal with. Deku. Good. I was hoping to find and kick your ass. Bakugo stood back up with a sickening grin on his face. I'm gonna make you wish you didn't crawl out of the fucking hole you came out of. He used his explosions to come barreling towards Izuku with his right arm out. Die, you fucking useless piece of shit. Right hook. Izuku evaded the attack immediately before adjusting to take a combat stance. Fishman Karate. 4000 tile brick fist. The attack hit Bakugo in his side and forced his body to feel a massive shockwave that sent him flying into the wall. Trust me when I say I'm nowhere near the weakling you think I am. That I can promise you. In the observation room as the fight went on, the entire class of Class A watched as 2 of their 4 classmates in the simulation began to do battle. How did Ryugu do that? I don't think he hit Bakugo that hard. A frog girl named Sue asked for All Might to explain. He is using a technique known as Fishman Karate. It's a form of martial arts created by the Fishman of Fishman Island that involves causing shockwaves in water. The attack you saw wasn't a powerful one to young Bakugo's body, but the attack was meant to create a shockwave in the moisture that's present in his body. Though it won't be nearly as powerful as a fishman's, a human being can still learn Fishman Karate and have some similarities in the results. So does this Fishman Karate thing work with weapons too? That is actually young Ryugu's own doing, young Kirishima. Unlike Fishman, young Ryugu can't use the ability to its fullest, but he had developed a form of swordsmanship involved with the foundations of Fishman Karate instilled in it he calls Fishman swordsmanship. Instead of using his bare hands to land the shockwaves, he's cutting the moisture around him and creating shockwaves with the blade itself. If you ask me, young Ryugu is a natural-born genius not counting his abilities as a hockey wielder. All Might started to laugh with everyone paying close attention to the fight happening. With Izuku and Bakugo as Bakugo gave several blasts at Izuku, the green-haired man evaded each and every one without issue to begin angering the ash blonde. Stay fucking still, asshole. And let you hit me? Even you're not that stupid to think I'd allow that. The constant dodging kept angering Bakugo before finally getting close enough to cause an explosion to hit him. Prepare to die, useless Deku. Before the blast could hit though, Izuku used armament hockey to deflect its power to shock Bakugo before seeing Izuku's hands grip his blade and side-slice him in the side. You. Just. As if I'm that dumb to use the front of the blade in a practice session. Your blood's not even worth sullying my blade. Thinking he was knocked out, Izuku began walking away not caring for the actions he took. Unfortunately, Bakugo wasn't defeated and was enraged with what happened. That's it. That is the last fucking straw. His gauntlet began glowing for a smile to be on his face. If you think you're so tough that you can beat me without a quirk, then take this. He pulled the metal attachment to his gauntlet up to show a nozzle and a pin. Young Bakugo. Stop now, you could actually get someone hurt. He'll be fine if he dodges. Izuku turned back to see Bakugo blast him with an explosion that barreled towards him with no intentions of stopping. As the blast hit, the entire building shook with everyone watching panicking. Where's that attitude now, jackass? You've now proven to everyone that I'm better than you. Bakugo started laughing maniacally as nothing but fire was shown where Izuku once stood. To be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.